The methods of refining pills 7. Fourth young miss, as long as you don't leave the prefecture, you are also safe. Dong Ling pretended to comfort her. Ongwagong only dared to cause trouble outside the prefecture. They wouldn't dare to come to the prefecture and challenge them. After all, they were still afraid of the prestige of Princess Zhang's prefecture. If this was the Xiao family's old residence, Ongwagong's people probably would have already had barged in and beaten the people. Xiao Rou hesitated before she exclaimed with a slightly red face. But today I had made an appointment with the fifth young miss from the government minister's prefecture to go tour the lake. After she had heard this, Dong Ling really wanted to scold this fourth young miss who has no brain whatsoever. During this period of time, she actually wanted to go out and tour the lake. So actually she had come here to find young miss not because she was afraid she couldn't go to Lingyang College and attend the class, but because she wanted to tour the lake. Therefore, she wanted to take young miss out with her so that Ongwagong's people would be afraid to make any moves. No matter how good Dong Ling's temperament was, at this time her tone of voice had become colder. Fourth young miss, we're at a troubled time right now. It's better to not go outdoors. After the third sister wakes up, she probably might want to go out and get some fresh air. Our young miss isn't feeling well. She won't be going out today. Dong Ling explained in a calm voice. Fourth young miss, please go back. You should think about what to do with your days in the future after the eldest young master had caused that kind of trouble. Xiao Rou's face turned red. She wanted to continue speaking, but Dong Ling didn't need to pass their days looking at their faces anymore. She moved back a step and closed the door. It was the first time Xiao Rou had a door closed in her face, especially from a maid of someone she had looked down upon. At that moment, anger had risen from her heart. She wanted to yell, but then she realized that she needed to rely on Huang Beiyu in the future. So she could only hold onto the stomach of anger. Dong Ling walked inside while she had mumbled and scolded the fourth young miss. What type of things are they? They dared to use the young miss as a shield. Dream on. Huang Beiyu had clearly heard the conversation from the inside. At this moment her eyebrows were wrinkled. At this time, why does Xiao Rou still want to go outside? She wants to tour the lake with a young miss from the government minister's prefecture. The young miss was the daughter of a concubine. These young misses don't think about good things at all. Who knows what they had planned this time? Dong Ling said with disdain. Tour the lake? Huang Beiyu thought it wasn't that simple. Xiao Rou would risk her life to just tour a lake. As she thought about it, someone had knocked on the door again. Huang Beiyu had a thought in her mind and let Dong Ling open the door. It was concubine Shui and Xiao Yun who had come. After what had happened at the Prime Minister's prefecture, both mother and daughter were really happy. Third young miss, I heard that you're not feeling well again. I had brought medicine for you again. Huang Beiyu crawled out from the quilt and coughed under her hand a couple times. She stated in a hoarse voice, sorry to trouble concubine Shui. Concubine Shui had seen that she was very weak and her eyebrows furrowed. Xiao Yun's face had automatically turned bad-looking. Third young miss, your body is so weak. Are you able to go outside? Concubine Shui carefully asked. It was obviously about touring the lake. Huang Beiyu revealed a weak smile. Go outside to do what? Obviously for good things. Concubine Shui looked at Xiao Yun and hurriedly explained. This year Xiao Yaowang hosted a pill event at the Blue Lakes. It was heard that recently he had refined a spiritual pill. The noble families in the imperial capital will all go and take a look at it. So it was the pill event. In this era, because there was rarely any refining pharmacists, this led them to become one of the most popular events on Cardi mainland. Every time they had refined a miracle medicine, they would invite companions to go and evaluated the product together. Those who had heard about this would all hurry to compete to see the elegant bearing of the spiritual pill. The methods of refining pills 8. Therefore, what originally was supposed to be a private pill event slowly turned into a grand gathering. Xiao Yaowang had been reclusive for many years, and he disliked having to show his face. He had never opened any pill events when he had refined a spiritual pill. This time he had only invited a couple of his friends to take a look at the recently refined spiritual pill. Who knew how the news had passed on? Those who had heard the news all hurried to the Blue Lakes to take a look. This was Xiao Yaowang's first pill event, therefore, everyone wanted to take a look at it. It made sense why Xiaorou didn't even want her life as long as she could go see. Huang Beiyu held a little interest over this. Besides learning the secret of the beast without boundaries, she also wanted to quickly master the methods of refining pills. So she had sat up and said, Xiao Yao Wang's pill event, I also want to take a look. Concubine Shui and Xiao Yun exchanged an ecstatic look. They both thought that Huang Beiyu was a stupid person and didn't understand anything. Your body is weak. Drink some medicine first. Then you can go with your second sister. Concubine Shui delivered the bowl of medicine over. Huang Beiyu shook her head and exclaimed, I just drank the medicine that Dong Ling had got for me. It's not good to drink some more. Just place the medicine here for now, and I will drink it at night. Concubine Shui now had to rely on her so naturally, she wouldn't force her to drink it. Anyways, she drank this medicine every day, so the poison in her body was already deep-rooted. It's fine if she didn't drink the medicine for a day or two. Okay, that's fine. Let Dong Ling dress you up warmly. We will be in the front yard waiting. The horse carriage has already been prepared. Huang Beiyu nodded her head and watched as concubine Shui and Xiao Yun left. Then she had got off the bed and changed into casual clothes. Young miss, are you really going? You just got better. Dong Ling was a little worried. When young miss had got back, she was so weak and haven't rested yet. Would something happen to her if she went out? Don't worry, my body is really well. Huang Beiyu smiled. After she was burned by the punishment flame, the toxin that was compiled in her body over the years were burned off. The body that she has now is a healthy body. As long as she nurses and nourish her body for a while, there will naturally be no problems. After she saw Huang Beiyu's confident smile, Dong Ling was comforted. She covered her with a cloak, then they walked out the door together. In the front yard, Xiao Yun had already dressed up and waited there. There was no clue as to where Xiaorou had gotten the news, but she had also dressed up nicely and followed them out. She was late, but no one dared to show a bit of dissatisfaction to her. Even Xiao Yun didn't dare to say anything. Third sister, let me sit with you in one horse carriage. When Xiaorou had seen her, she immediately walked up to her. Xiaorou was the type of person who only thought about themselves. Even the situation with Concubine Qin. Concubine Qin's reputation was ruined, and Dong Ling had randomly said a couple statements which led her to want to separate her relationship with Concubine Qin. These type of people were the easiest to use and manipulate. Although Huang Beiyu looked down upon Xiaorou in her heart, she still needed to use Xiaorou's confidence. Therefore, she slightly pretended to agree. Okay, come on. Once she had said this, Xiao Yun was upset. She put up a blank face and exclaimed, Third sister, you had promised me before that you would sit in the same horse carriage as me. Onguagong's people were outside. With the emperor's support, despite how fearless Onguagong was, he didn't dare to make any move in public towards Huang Beiyu. At this point, those who were with her in the same horse carriage would be the safest. Huang Beiyu thought in her heart, when did I say that? However, she had no spare time to make a choice between Xiaorou and Xiao Yun. She had just let Dong Ling help her up the horse carriage. My head is dizzy today, so I might have forgotten. Second sister and fourth sister, whoever wants to be in the same carriage as me, come up. The methods of refining pills, 9. After she had finished saying this, she let Dong Ling place the curtain down. She sat inside and waited for people outside to argue. Not much time later, Xiao Yun had opened the curtain and walked in. Outside, Xiaorou was weeping. Huang Beiyu slightly raised her eyebrows. She admired Xiao Yun a little. In this world, the weak were praised to the strong. Those without strong strength, they were going to be stepped on forever. Crying would never fix the problem. Xiao Yun, this person, was harsh in that she had inherited Concubine Shui's scorpion-like heart. As long as she wants to meet her goal, she would do anything. Xiaorou, on the other hand, is weak strength and selfish. Compared to Xiao Yun, she was much easier to be dealt with. The Blue Lakes was at Lin Hui City's south side. The scenery was elegant and was said to be Lin Hui City's best landscape. On the vast expanse of the lake, there are several beautiful decorated pleasure boats that seem to float around. Inside the decorated pleasure boats, zither notes transmitted outside. When looked from far away, there were a few sporadic mountain peaks in the center of the lake. The mountains were green and covered by fog. It seemed to be a scene from paradise. On the edge of the blue lakes, a row of willows was planted. Many pavilions were built, and people walked through them as though they had walked out of a painting. The artistic conception was extraordinary. At this time, because of Xiao Yao Wang's pill event, half of the imperial capital's people had all arrived here. By the lake, there was a crowd of people who argued for renting boats. They had walked all the way from here, and other than Onguagong's people who had secretly followed them from behind, they had not encountered any attacks. The good thing here is that it's the imperial capital. Princess Beiyu was in the horse carriage, and after all, Onguagong's people didn't dare to make any moves towards her. She had walked down from the horse carriage. The sky had fluttered with drizzles and light rain. The willows were luxurious, and at the blue lakes, this scenery seemed to have come from a painting. Dong Ling hurriedly opened the paper umbrella and blocked the rain. Huang Beiyu drew the cloak closer to her. She looked back to see Xiao Yun and Xiao Rou. The two of them were gorgeously dressed and looked extraordinary. The two had brought numerous maids. Those who opened the paper umbrella opened it. Those who carried things carried it. Their manners were way bigger than the Grand Princess Beiyu. So what if their manners were bigger? There were many people by the Blue Lakes. Everyone had gone over and fought for boats. People were full on the decorated pleasure boats. The private decorated pleasure boats were mainly owned by royal and noble families. Princess Zheng's prefecture had no boats. Xiao Rou stretched her neck and looked through the crowd. She was extremely anxious. Where is Sister Wan? You guys go look ah. Sister Wan was Government Minister Lin's prefecture's young miss who was born from a concubine. Her name was Lin Wanjun. In Lingyang College, she and Xiao Rou were really good friends. Young miss, we can't find Lady Wan. She probably had gotten on the boat already. Her maid had looked around in a circle and still hadn't found her. She said she would wait for me. Xiao Rou lowly resented. Xiao Yun sneered. She had ordered the servants to get a boat for her no matter what they do. She then leaned against the horse carriage with the paper umbrella on. Huang Beiyu looked in the crowd, and there wasn't anyone that she knew. She originally thought that when she got here, she could have rented a boat. She had never thought that there would be so many people here. Not to say to rent a boat, even walking to the bank would be difficult. There were countless decorated boats on the Blue Lakes. Those who stood on the boat and stared at the people by the bank were naturally proud. Those by the bank were obviously secretly jealous. Young miss, we rented a boat, but it's too small. It's probably not enough. After a while, Xiao Yun's people had come back and reported. The servant was badly battered. It was obvious that when they had gone to rent a boat, enough for how many people? Xiao Yun was a little disgusted. Useless thing. The methods of refining pills the servant stated, probably, only enough for 1 to 2 people. What type of broken boat is that? Xiao Yun heard that and immediately got angry. A boat only enough for 1 to 2 people was probably the boats that fishermen went on to catch fish. The servant cried and explained, Young miss, there was only these types of broken boats left. The other boats were bought away by other people. They are already on the surface of the lake. Xiao Yun clenched her teeth. Just enough for 1 to 2 people, right? Then she can't bring along her maids. She turned around to look at Huang Beiyu and pretended to offer her a ride. Third sister, come on the boat with me. The small fisherman boat enough for only 1 to 2 people can't possibly catch up to those big decorated pleasure boats. Probably by the time they had reached the center of the lake, the pill event had ended. Huang Beiyu naturally wouldn't have gotten on with her. She shook her head. The boat is too small and I get dizzy on water. I am scared to get on. Dizzy on water? You're that useless? Xiao Yun was infuriated. If she doesn't have Huang Beiyu with her, then how could she become friends with Xiao Yao Wang? Dong Ling hurriedly exclaimed, Second lady, our young Mrs. Body isn't feeling well today. She probably can't go. If you're not going, then fine. Xiao Yun coldly sneered. She brought a maid along with her and got on the boat. At this time, Xiao Rou had found the government minister's prefecture's Lin Wanjun in the crowd. Although Lin Wanjun was a young miss born from a concubine, she had the talent of a summoner. Therefore, Government Minister Lin extremely valued her. The treatment of young miss born from a concubine wasn't any worse than the young miss of the first wife. Today, government minister's prefecture had bought a couple big boats. Lin Wanjun had come to an agreement with Xiao Rou, so she had agreed for Xiao Rou to come onto the boat. But when she saw Huang Beiyu, Lin Wanjun had coldly mentioned, "Sister Rou, our family's boat isn't a huge boat. It's already crowded when you come on. It can't fit anyone else." These young misses born from a concubine were usually jealous of young misses from different prefectures that were born from the first wife. Now that they had found a chance to suppress them, they showed no mercy. After Xiao Rou had a boat, she didn't depend on Huang Beiyu. She said, "Third sister, the wind is huge on the Blue Lakes. Your body is weak, so you shouldn't come on." Huang Beiyu looked at her coldly. She wasn't mad, but Dong Ling was now in a bad mood. She sneered, "Fourth young miss, you should enjoy it to the full extent. Be careful, the wind is big." Once she had finished, a young boy's voice rang from behind, "Princess Beiyu." After that, a young boy who wore a gorgeous ferret and a 7-color gemstone on the belt ran over. Once he saw Huang Beiyu, his eyes had smiled. "It's really you. You are also going to the Blue Lakes to see the pill event?" Huang Beiyu turned her head over to look. It was the young master of the Buji heir family, Luo Luo. Because her impression of Luo Luo was pretty good, she had smiled and nodded her head. "Coincidentally, I am also going. I had told people to drive the boat over here. How about you come with me? I'm quite bored by myself." Luo Luo's enthusiasm was very pure. It was not because Huang Beiyu was pushed aside by others that he had invited her. Huang Beiyu couldn't help but like his personality. She had agreed without even thinking about it. "I was just worried about not having a boat, thank you. Fourth lady, hope you have fun." Dong Ling smiled at Xiao Rou when she said this. After that, she had walked with Huang Beiyu along with Luo Luo to the bank. Xiao Rou rolled her eyes and said, "Where did this smelly boy come from?" Lin Wanjun was shocked from the start when she had saw Luo Luo. When he left, she got back from her trance. When she heard what Xiao Rou said, she surprisingly exclaimed, "You don't know who he is? Who is he?" Xiao Rou was baffled. The methods of refining pills 11. He is the young master from the Bai Ji heir family, Luo Luo. Lin Wanjun stomped her foot when she said this. "Do you know the Bai Ji heir family?" Young master Luo Luo had just came to the imperial capital lately. He rarely shows his face, but he will be Bai Ji heir family's heir in the future. Bu Ji heir family? You are saying that he's from the Bu Ji heir family? Xiao Rou was shocked that her brain had turned into chaos. Which other Bu Ji heir families are there? Lin Wanjun wanted to look down upon this girl without any knowledgeable. "Rou heir, how does your sister know him?" "How should I know?" After she had figured out Luo Luo's status, Xiao Rou was even more jealous of Huang Beiyu. Why is that all the good luck is with Huang Beiyu? She was born from the first wife and personally rewarded with the title Princess Beiyu by the emperor. She had rich lands, and Princess Zhang was a very prestigious woman among the people. Her indecent mother cannot be compared with Princess Zhang. When Princess Zhang was dead, she originally thought that Huang Beiyu's good luck had come to an end. It was unclear why recently, this Huang Beiyu seemed to become more and more powerful. On the other hand, because of her mother's misconduct and due to the troubles caused by her brother, she was suppressed in Linhui City. In Xiao Rou's heart, the more she thought about it, the madder she became. The Buji heir family's huge ship came from the port. The body of the ship had absorbed water deeply, which caused the surrounding small boats to flip over. The ship's body was drawn with the emblem of Buji heir family, the Red Cross star. On top of the bow of the ship, a male eagle which was about to take flight was carved on it. It was very lifelike, and the surrounding people had all sucked a breath in. The Buji heir family, Even Buji heir family had came, Through the voice of discussion, the suspension bridge was slowly laid down from the big ship. A gorgeously dressed teenager reached out in a gentlemanly manner, gently holding the arm of the beautiful girl next to her. He slowly took her from the suspension bridge onto the boat. Her back was fragile but noble, petite but held an air of arrogance. Who is that girl? I had never seen her before. That is the daughter of Princess Zhang, Princess Beiyu. Those who knew had explained loudly. Princess Beiyu? It was rumored that she was a nonsense. A couple of days ago, Princess Bei, you had killed the rampant Xueming on Lingyang College's arena. Such a brave girl. How could she be a waste? That's right. Like mother, like daughter. Our Princess Zhang's daughter will be like her mother too. Strong and brave. Right. Right. Princess Bei, you will definitely become like Princess Zhang. Princess Bei Yu is very brave. Unbelievable. Huang Bei Yu's mouth slightly curled up after she had heard the praise from the bottom of the ship. It's not that she liked being praised. On the other hand, she liked how others had praised Princess Zhang. Hopefully, the reputation of the warm and generous Princess Zhang wasn't ruined by Huang Bei Yu. Princess, your mother is well respected by the people. Luo Luo turned his head around and seriously stated. His clear eyes sparkled every now and then. Huang Bei Yu nodded her head. Her face had revealed a soft but proud smile. Right? She is a very incredible woman. Once they ascended the ship, they had looked around. On the vast lake, numerous boats and ships had floated around. The scenery was beautiful. Luo Luo turned around to make a command. The people of Buji Air family had immediately set sail. The methods of refining pills. 12. The ship had set sail and waves had gone up and down every now and then. The surrounding small boats had tumbled over due to the changing waves. Xiaoyao Wang's boat is over there. We can go over there and get on his boat. Then we can see the actual new spiritual pill he had just refined lately. Luo Luo pointed towards a large boat ahead. Will Xiaoyao Wang let us on his boat? Huang Bei Yu had never thought that they would have been able to get on the boat. Her best plan was to stroll around nearby. Yes, Xiaoyao Wang and our family's relationship had always been good. Luo Luo explained without any schemes. He had no intentions of bragging. When with pure people, she didn't need to guess around or defend herself. This type of interaction was very simple. The ship had got to the center of the lake. Huang Bei Yu's eyes had swept over and seen Xiao Yun's small boat. Xiao Yun, without a doubt, was an ice-attributed 3-star summoner. Normally, ice attributes control on water would be very strong. She looked at Xiao Yun, who held only the ice feather. The ice feather had a fluorescent glow to it. Xiao Yun had injected the vitality into the ice feathers, and she gently patted in the water. The boat quickly and smoothly traveled on the water. She did this easily, did this confidently and quickly. Xiao Yun's gorgeous dress swayed on the hazy lake surface. The strands of her hairs had flown around her. The delicate look on her face was filled with proudness and confidence. She placed no one on the lake in her eyes. There were countless small boats on the lake's surface which was envious of her. Huang Bei Yu leaned on the ship's side and looked far into the distance. The clear eyes had turned around and her mouth revealed a faint smile. Young Master Luo Luo, drive the ship faster. Otherwise, by the time we get there, Xiaoyao Wang's pill event would have ended. You're right, drive it quicker. Luo Luo nodded his head. He immediately went in and ordered the crew to do so. The crew had set the sails open to its full extent. Combining the wind on the lake and maneuvering of the boat, the huge body of the lake moved forward. They had originally passed many small boats and ships. Only Xiao Yun's boat was hidden in the front. Due to the sudden increase in the acceleration of the boat, huge waves suddenly appeared on the surface of the lake. The huge ship had driven over and the water had splashed on both sides. When it passed Xiao Yun, she was unlucky. A wave of water had rushed over and her small boat immediately began to wobble over. Her face had changed, and she immediately made a layer of ice on the surface of the water with the ice feathers, which at least had stabilized the boat. Huang Bei Yu wanted to laugh loudly. What can such a thin layer of ice do? It can still turn the boat over, ah? Of course, after the first wave had turned over, the second wave had followed up. It was bigger than the first. Added on with the splashes of the water, the layer of ice that Xiao Yun had made with a huge effort had shattered. The maid on the boat screamed and Xiao Yun had slapped her. What are you yelling for? She hadn't finished her statement when the boat had flipped over. Dong Ling, who on the big ship had held in the laughter, but now laughed loudly. This is how the big ships bully the small boats, ah. Luo Luo was an innocent person, but that scenery was really humorous. He couldn't help but to guffaw out loud with Dong Ling. Huang Bei Yu was a bit calmer. Her lips had slightly curled up. She pulled on the emerald green cloak and sneezed. She said, It's so cold outside, ah. The methods of refining pills, 13. Let's go in. Luo Luo hurriedly said with concern. Huang Beiyu surprisingly took a look at him. You're not going to save her? She bullies others. I don't like her, so I don't care whether she dies or not. Luo Luo unruly explained. A summoner who knew how to use ice attribute would not die in the water so easily. The most that would have happened was that they would have suffered getting a little wet. The boats behind might be kind and save her. However, Xiao Yun was too arrogant before. Many people were unhappy with her. Now that she was turned over by the two waves, the people behind are more likely to take joy in her misfortune. She had not said that the person who caused her to be in the water was her sister. From so far away, plus with the drizzles on the lake, how could she have seen it clearly? Huang Beiyu took a faint look at Xiao Yun, who was struggling in the water, as walked back to the cabin to rest. It hadn't taken long before the huge ship caught up to Xiao Yaowang's ship. It was a 3-floor decorated pleasure boat, carved and embroidered. It had an imposing manner around it. Xiao Yaowang and the Bu Jier family really did have a close relationship. Once Xiao Yaowang had heard the servant report that Bu Jier's ship had come closer, he had personally brought people over and stood on the deck and waited. The two ships had slowly moved closer. After the connected wooden bridge was placed, Luo Luo carefully pulled Huang Beiyu over. He feared that she would fall. Therefore, he had walked slowly. After they got off the wooden bridge, Xiao Yaowang was able to see Huang Beiyu clearly. He was a little surprised and said, "You you had come also?" Behind Xiao Yaowang stood in front of many unfamiliar high-ranking people. She saw Feng Lianyi behind him. As always, he had a smile on. The smile is gentle and elegant in the eyes of others. However, in her eyes, he is a cold and heartless person. I had met Princess Beiyu on the bank, so we had come together on the same boat. Luo Luo smiled while he explained. He couldn't wait. Wang Yi, where is the newly refined spiritual pill of yours? Let me see. There is no spiritual pill. It's just a pill for strengthening the body. Xiao Yaowang explained faintly. He took a look at Huang Beiyu, and that gaze was meaningful. The pill for strengthening the body refined by Xiao Yaowang is naturally better than that of ordinary people. Luo Luo's compliments were always sincere. Even Xiao Yaowang couldn't help but smile. Then, he led everyone into the cabin. A shining pill with an orange glow was placed on the table in the middle of the cabin. It was contained in a high-quality purple box. The pill glowed with brilliance, and at first glance, they all knew it was extraordinary. There was a strong scent of medicine in the cabin. Just from the smell, it made people feel refreshed. It was obvious that the pill was indeed a good thing. It was the first time that Huang Beiyu had seen such a good refined pill. She was also surprised, so she couldn't help but look at it for a couple more times. She thought about when she first refined a pill and the medicine furnace had exploded. She felt a little shocked back then. When would she be able to refine such a perfect pill? When you smelled this medicine box, how do you feel? Xiao Yaowang walked to her side and smiled warmly when asking this. Very comfortable. The whole body feels comfortable. Huang Beiyu replied honestly. The effect of the pill is not to be underestimated. Xiao Yaowang looked at her with a tint of tenderness in his smile. This pill is made for you. Me? Why would he gift her such a valuable pill? The methods of refining pills, 14. It's merely a jade pill. As long as it can help strengthen your body, then it's good, he said in a light tone as his sincere gaze was directed straight at her. Your health isn't good, so I always worry. I hope you'll recover as soon as possible. This was a sincere gift out of his worry for her. If she continues to refuse, it would seem like she's unreasonable. Thank you, Wang Ye. This grace, Beiyu will remember it. What grace? Can't you think of this as a small gift from a friend? Xiao Yaowang smiled as he looked at her. Faint rays of lights circulated around his handsome face. His manner was like jade, and his temperament was very moving. Huang Beiyu clearly and brightly smiled as she said, Okay, I'll recognize Wang Ye as a friend then. Recognize what? Luo Luo's voice suddenly cut in. He smiled as he walked forward. He innocently blinked his pair of clear black and white eyes. Wow, no wonder you're Xiao Yaowang. The pills you refined, with just a sniff, You can already feel its medicinal properties. Ah, you're overpraising me, Xiao Yaowang humbly said. Luo Luo smiled as he said, this is a jade pill, right? Is this the same pill I ate before? The jade pill is very effective for people who have a weak body since they were young. It directly helps them improve their physique, toughen the tibia, the arteries, and the veins. Usually, only people who are poor in health would eat that pill. When she heard Luo Luo say that, she was somewhat puzzled. How did you eat one? When I came out from the womb, I was already sick. The doctors had said that I wouldn't be able to live past 10 years old. Later, Xiao Yaowang refined a jade pill for me. After I ate that pill, my body got better each day. When Huang Beiyu heard Luo Luo's story, she was amazed. If Luo Luo never told her that he was sick before, she would never believe that he was a sickly person. It seems that the effects of the jade pill aren't ordinary. Pills that have good medicinal properties are also complicated to refine. Xiao Yaowang actually refined a jade pill just for her. It can be seen that he is sincere to her. This kindness, she'll remember it in her heart. Luo Luo looked at the jade pill. As he looked at it, he said, how does it feel to be a refining pharmacist? You want to learn how to refine pills? Xiao Yaowang gently patted his folded fan. His gaze slightly slid past Luo Luo and landed on Huang Beiyu. It's not like if I want to learn and I'll be able to learn it. Luo Luo muttered to himself. I have no talent for anything. I can only go to the Imperial College. I'm such a failure. You have many things you have to learn. You don't need to become an expert to excel. Ah. Xiao Yaowang used his folded fan to pat Luo Luo's head. Luo Luo let out an ow sound and happily turned his head to ask Huang Beiyu. Princess Beiyu also chose medical science class. Do you also want to become a refining pharmacist? Is there anyone in the world who doesn't want to become a refining pharmacist? Huang Beiyu lightly asked. When Xiao Yaowang heard Huang Beiyu's words, the expression on his face became thoughtful. The snow-white fan propped up his lower jaw. His skin, compared to the white jade, was even more glossy and smooth. If you want to become a refining pharmacist, then you would need a high-grade earth attribute essence cleansing pill in order to change your innate skill. When Huang Beiyu heard that he was actually seriously considering it, she quickly said, Wang Ye, you don't have to think about it. I wasn't actually serious. Right now, she doesn't need the innate skill of a refining pharmacist. Instead, she needs a process to slowly fuse everything together. It would take Xiao Yaowang a lot of trouble and a great deal of effort to refine an essence cleansing pill for her. The pill wouldn't even be very useful to her. On the contrary, it would make him very tired. Luo Luo pouted, and with a very envious tone said, Wang Ye is very good to the princess. Ah. The methods of refining pills, 15. Xiao Yaowang lightly coughed. The expression on his handsome face suddenly became unnatural. A slightly embarrassed red color had flashed across his face. He opened his folded fan and said, They need me over there. I'm going to go over. Luo Luo and Huang Beiyu exchanged a glance. The two children were incomparably pure and slow in the matter of love. Hence, neither of them gave much thought to it. Just as Xiao Yaowang had gone out, noises arose from the deck outside. Someone had shouted, Someone is drowning. And then there was a piu tong sound which signaled that someone had jumped into the water. The people who were inside the ship was very curious, so they had walked onto the deck to see the situation. Huang Beiyu and Luo Luo had also followed the other people out. On the deck, the person who was drowning had already been rescued. Suddenly, a burst of crying sounded. The voice was familiar to Huang Beiyu. Dong Ling suddenly said, Isn't this the voice of the second young Mrs. Maid? Sure enough, just as Dong Ling had finished speaking, they heard a trembling voice say, My name is Xiao Yun. I am the second young miss of Princess Zhang's prefecture. When Huang Beiyu heard Xiao Yun's self-introduction, she couldn't help but frown. At this time, why would she say that she's from Princess Zhang's prefecture? It's basically bringing disgrace to the prefecture. So it's the second young miss from Princess Zhang's prefecture. Quickly, someone come and help the second young miss to change her clothes. Don't let her freeze. Xiao Yaowang's elegant and refined voice sounded. Xiao Yun's voice was trembling, but it was still gentle and soft as she said, Many thanks to Wang Ye. Huang Beiyu walked out from the crowd. She only saw that Xiao Yun was being lifted up by other people like a water ghost. The superfluous and the bulky clothes that Xiao Yun had worn before were thrown away by Xiao Yun. Otherwise, once that superfluous and bulky clothes get soaked in water, it would be heavy. The heavy robe would make her sink into the water. So presently, she only wore a thin layer of garment. Her hair was scattered, and her face was purple. Luckily, there was no noble lady that liked to gossip on the boat. Or else, appearing like that in front of so many men, people would have talked about how her innocence was ruined. Most of the people on the boat are people who don't bother about trifle matters, so they naturally know to carry out their own duties. They saw that Xiao Yun was so embarrassed and that they shouldn't crowd around her to admire her. So they gradually pretended to have something else to do and began to leave. Second sister. Once the people that were about to leave heard this crisp voice, they couldn't help but to turn around and look at the scene once again. Huang Beiyu ran to Xiao Yun and pulled her hand as she anxiously asked, "Second sister, how did you become like this?" When Xiao Yun saw Huang Beiyu appear in front of her, she was shocked. She didn't expect her to be here. When she fell into the water, no one saved her. She relied on herself as a summoner with an ice attribute to get close to Xiao Yaowang's big ship to be rescued. She was secretly happy that she could slowly return the grace of saving her life to Xiao Yaowang in the future. But right now she was in a sorry state while basking in humiliation, and Huang Beiyu was dressed nicely. Huang Beiyu's bright eyes were quick-witted. Her delicate chin that was surrounded by mist-covered water appeared to be more soft and touching. When compared to her, they were polar opposites. Xiao Yun was usually a proud person. She thought that when she's compared to Huang Beiyu, she's high up in the sky. She could never find something that Huang Beiyu is better at than her. However, now she's in this kind of situation, and especially in front of Xiao Yaowang like this. How could this be? Xiao Yun was really angry. Inside her heart, an envious fire burned. The fire burned to such a degree that she almost lost her mind. "Don't come here to ridicule me." Xiao Yun's tone of voice wasn't very heavy. She didn't lose all her rationality yet. She was still a little clear-headed. The methods of refining pills, 16. Don't come here to ridicule me. Xiao Yun's tone of voice wasn't very heavy. She didn't lose all her rationality yet. She was still a little clear-headed. She only wanted to push Huang Beiyu away. But she doesn't know why. When she pushed her, Huang Beiyu's weak body was pushed out. They were just standing at the side of the ship's railing. Coincidentally, Huang Beiyu was pushed off by Xiao Yun and bumped into the ship's railing. She almost flipped over and fell off the boat. A white figure flashed by. He grabbed her hand and pulled her back. "Young miss," Dong Lin shouted as she immediately ran over. She pulled Huang Beiyu into an embrace and lifted her head to show a pair of teary eyes. She said, "Second young miss, when you hurt my young miss at home, no one dare to stop you. But now we're outside. So many pairs of eyes are watching us. Can't you let my young miss still have some face?" The way she worded everything was very clever. With just a few sentences, she was able to expose all the grievance and suffering Huang Beiyu had endured while she was in Princess Zhang's prefecture. However, within her words, there were no words of criticism towards Xiao Yun. From this, it could be seen how much Huang Beiyu and the maid had been bullied by Xiao Yun. It also showed how scared of Xiao Yun they were. The people that were about to leave, once they heard these words, immediately stopped walking. They looked towards Xiao Yun's eyes and expression, which contained quite a bit of anger. Xiao Yun was at a loss for words. She never wanted to push Huang Beiyu into the water. She's not an idiot. With so many people watching, if she had done this kind of thing and the news of this spread, how could she behave herself with integrity in the future? But it was intentional. "Huang Beiyu, this damned servant purposely did this. Huang Beiyu, you want to frame me?" Xiao Yun pointed at her in fury. "I didn't push you at all. Stop trying to pretend that I did." "Second young Miss Xiao, if I had stepped in a second too late, Princess Bei, you would have really had fallen into the water. Would she pay such a big price to frame you?" Feng Lian lifted his eyes. His eyes were usually warm and friendly. However, at this moment, his eyes were cold. Under those cold eyes, Xiao Yun's heart also became cold. Suddenly, she could no longer say anything. She can't let Huang Beiyu frame her. In a panic, Xiao Yun could only turn her head towards Xiao Yao Wang, asking for help. Wang Ya, I really didn't. Please believe me. Xiao Yao Wang is also usually a person who's as gentle as a jade. His gentleness and good manner were well known. However, his face right now was covered in frost. Second young Miss Xiao, Bin Wang's ship doesn't have woman's clothes. I'm afraid that you'll freeze, so Bin Wang had just sent someone to get you a small boat to take you home. His clear and cold voice made Xiao Yun's heart completely become cold. I had heard rumors before that you people from Princess Zhang's prefecture, due to Princess Zhang's death, had become undisciplined and out of control. You guys had bullied Princess Beiyu to the point where she doesn't even dare to leave the prefecture. Before, I didn't believe that someone would have dared to be so bold. Now that I see, those rumors were indeed true. Who gave you the nerve to be so bold and daring? Luo walked up from behind. His young, delicate, and handsome face was taut. Although he is young, that imposing manner was very strict. Xiao Yun was angry to the point where the pit of her stomach rapidly moved up and down. Just a moment ago, everything was fine. Xiao Yao Wang had saved her. That was a golden opportunity for her to get closer to him. But that damned Huang Beiyu suddenly appeared out of nowhere and destroyed her beautiful plan. No, she can't be impulsive anymore right now. She and her mother had persistently planned this. It can't be so easily destroyed in vain. She really needs the essence cleansing pill, and she really wants to marry Xiao Yao Wang. The methods of refining pills, 17 in the end. Xiao Yun had inherited concubine Shui's 1 way of thinking. Taking a deep breath, all the jealousy and anger were harshly suppressed down. Third sister, I was too cold before. Maybe I had accidentally pushed you. It wasn't intentional. Huang Beiyu leaned on Dongling's embrace. The corners of her mouth curved into a smile. Indeed, she is Xiao Yun. She is able to easily suppress her anger. This way it would be fun to challenge her. Dongling sniffed her nose. She raised her two tear-filled eyes to take a look at Xiao Yun. Then with panic, she lowered her head with choking sobs. She said, "Yes, the second young miss didn't do that intentionally." Everyone understood the grievances and fear within her voice. Huang Beiyu almost laughed out loud. Dongling is really quick-witted and crafty. Once she seized an opportunity, she'll harshly hit them. She didn't even give Xiao Yun any ability to turn the situation around. And within her voice, there was no criticism at all. Her tone showed that she was timid and wronged. The people around them were all people invited by Xiao Yao Wang. They are very able people who lived in seclusion. Dongling was able to understand the situation quickly and took advantage of the surrounding situation. She had twisted the greatest benefits for herself. Smart? There is this saying that blood is thicker than water. However, to have this kind of sister, she is sure unlucky. It wasn't known who had said that, but Xiao Yao Wang's expression had turned worse. He coldly said, "Is the boat ready?" Replying to Wang Ya, "The boat is ready," a servant had said as he rushed over. Xiao Yao Wang was too lazy to even look at Xiao Yun. He waved his hand. "Send second young Miss Xiao back." "Wang Ya, I really didn't mean to do it." Xiao Yun really wanted to say more. But with the disgust and disdaining look she was getting from the numerous experts, she felt like she had become the target of criticism from others. She felt as if she just say a wrong word, she'll be killed by them and thrown into the blue lake. Xiao Yao Wang walked forward to help Huang Beiyu up. He softly asked, "Are you okay?" "I'm okay. Thank you, Wang Ya, for your concern," she had quietly said. Then she untied her cloak and gave it to Dong Ling. "Dong Ling, put it on my sister."
Yes.
Dong Ling brought the cloak over. "Second young miss, the weather is really cold. Put it on." The things that Huang Beiyu give her, how could Xiao Yun accept it? But right now she can't shed her pretense. So she forced herself to laugh and said, "It's okay. Third sister isn't in good health. It's best if third sister wears it. Second sister's health is very good." Even in this state, she doesn't forget to mock Huang Beiyu's sickly body. Huang Beiyu raised her head. Her pitch-black eyes were like the morning stars that appear in the horizon. Resplendent and blurred, she looked at Xiao Yun's face. Her voice was soft but flat. "Second sister has a healthy body, so I won't worry. But second sister had fallen into the water and isn't properly dressed. It's okay here, but once you get to the coast, there will be a lot of people. People will talk about how the young missus from Princess Zhang's prefecture doesn't know any etiquette. Xiao Yun was frozen to the point where her face had become blue. Suddenly, her face became red. She had just remembered that the clothes she was wearing were what she would wear at a lady's chamber. She was only wearing an unlined single garment, and because she had fallen into the water, the garment stuck to her skin. The thin single layer of the garment was light and transparent. It stuck to her skin, outlining her fine curves. The red undergarment that she wore inside was faintly discernible. The people who were standing there were all men. She's an unmarried woman, yet she was losing face in front of numerous people without knowing it. She was careless and doesn't understand the etiquette. She was no different from a woman from the brothel. One in the Ross, it was concubine Qin. But I think the author made a typo because Xiao Yun isn't really related to concubine Qin. So I changed concubine Qin to concubine Shui. The methods of refining pills, 18. Immediately, in addition to the anger in their gaze, the gaze of the surrounding people was also filled with contempt towards Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun quickly took the cloak that Dong Ling had brought over. She rapidly put it on herself, wrapping her entire body up. The bodyguards who had no self-restraint had already lowered their heads and started laughing. Xiao Yun only thought that today was the most humiliating day of her entire life, and she had lost her dignity in front of Xiao Yao Wang, the person she likes. She wants to find a crack in the ground and crawl inside. 2 lines of tears rolled down her cheeks. She was too embarrassed to continue to stay on the boat. She had her head down. While sobbing, she followed Xiao Yao Wang's servant onto the small boat and left. Huang Beiyu sneered coldly in her heart. Xiao Yun, you want to fight with me? You're still too tender. From today onwards, another frivolous, wanton, and ruined woman would appear in Lin Huai City. However, Xiao Yun didn't have the luck that concubine Qin had that year. Concubine Qin was able to meet the lenient and generous Princess Zhang. Princess Zhang had allowed concubine Qin into the prefecture as a concubine. Xiao Yun was only an unmarried 16 years old. In this lifetime, she probably doesn't have any place in the future with the other main wives from prominent families. After the matter regarding Xiao Yun, the people that were invited here by Xiao Yao Wang were no longer in the mood for the pill event. One after another, they took their leave. Princess Beiyu. Before leaving, a thin but bright old man walked in front of Huang Beiyu. He humbly cupped one fist in the other hand and said, "The daughter that Princess Zhang had taught. You understand the etiquette very well. Princess didn't put Princess Zhang's reputation to shame. This old man is very gratified." Huang Beiyu stared at him blankly. In her memory, there were no memories of him. The old man laughed with a ha-ha. Of course Princess doesn't recognize this old man. I had met Princess Zhang before she was married. Sir, Beiyu was rude. Huang Beiyu, immediately as the identity of a junior, bowed to him. She is usually a proud person, but when it comes to her elders, especially a kind and loving elder, she is usually very respectful towards them. Furthermore, his words had praised Princess Zhang. Towards such a person, she needs to be very respectful to him. Hence, the memory of Princess Zhang won't be flawed in his heart because of her. The old man stroked the short beard on his chin and laughed. Good, ah. Today this old man has seen Princess Beiyu. This old man have finally resolved my desire. That year I was too busy. I wanted to give Princess Zhang a gift, but I had to deal with a lot of matters, so it kept getting delayed until she had passed away. I was still unable to send the gift. This old man had felt great regret these past years. Sir, please don't say that. My mother must have felt that it was very fortunate of her to have met you. Huang Beiyu said with a smile. The old man smiled with relief. Being able to hear the princess say it like this old man is also very fortunate. Since I'm unable to give this gift to Princess Zhang, then I'll give it to you. Think of it as resolving one of this old man's wish. Saying up to this, he turned his hand over. From his high-grade purple gemmed space ring, he took out a scroll. With a smile, he gave it to Huang Beiyu. Huang Beiyu didn't dare to refuse as she quickly received it from him. Thank you, sir. When an elder gives his junior something, it wouldn't be sensible/smart to refuse. Ha ha ha, good child. I hope to see you again. The old man saw that she was well-mannered, he felt even more gratified. He nodded his head. His body floated on top of the lake. As he floated more, he slowly disappeared into the distance. The methods of refining pills, 19. As Huang Beiyu looked, she was stunned. His martial arts was so confident and cool. Dong Ling was also at a loss for words. Young miss, is that man an immortal? A lonely medicine saint and a wanderer. He's no different from an immortal. Xiao Wang smiled as he walked up. He looked at the scroll in Huang Beiyu's hand. A hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. 100 Ways of Refinement scroll? Huang Beiyu held up the scroll. She doesn't know what it is. But looking from the expression of Xiao Wang, it should be a good item. Little girl, you're in luck. Xiao Wang used his folded fan and lightly tapped her head. His movement showed how much he's pampering her. Little girl. Huang Beiyu's head was full of black lines. How long had it been since someone had called her that? What is this 100 Ways of Refinement scroll? Huang Beiyu lifted up the scroll. On the golden scroll, there was a vitality restriction around it. When she put her finger on it, the restriction was lifted. It seemed that the medicine saint had set the restriction so that by only using her vitality, the restriction would be lifted. This 100 Ways of Refinement scroll contains all of the medicine saint's knowledge. He never had a disciple, so there would be no successors to his knowledge. Xiao Wang slowly fanned himself using his fan. There was no envious expression on his face as he had slowly said that. That year, he had met Princess Zhang. He had seen that she was well-mannered and talented, so he had wanted to take her in as his disciple. But later on, many things had happened. Thus, it was dragged on unsuccessfully until Princess Zhang's death. He was full of regret when that had happened. Huang Beiyu quietly listened. These things weren't in Huang Beiyu's memory. She didn't know that besides Princess Zhang's respectable status and outstanding morality and conduct, she has the talent for a refining pharmacist. Even the medicine saint wanted her as his disciple. A strong sense of pride rose in her heart. But at the same time, she inwardly regrets and wonders why someone as outstanding as Princess Zhang would marry someone like Xiao Yuancheng, who is a useless weakling as well as an impertinent man. She doesn't believe that Princess Zhang would love someone like Xiao Yuancheng. Was there an unspeakable reason? Huang Beiyu looked at the 100 Ways of Refinement scroll and a faint light flashed by her face. Why did the medicine saint give me the 100 Ways of Refinement scroll? Before he didn't say that he would take her in as a disciple. He only said that he's gifting this to her. It was his first time meeting her, and yet he's giving her such a big gift. Huang Beiyu felt that she didn't receive him well enough. Xiao Wang knew the hesitation in her heart. As a result, with a consoling smile, he said, "Rest assured. The medicine saint didn't say that he'll take you in as his disciple, so you don't have to worry over the weight of the gift. Just think of it as a gift from him." After hearing him say that, the pressure in her heart had become a lot smaller. If it was someone like the medicine saint had asked her to become his disciple, she wouldn't have acted the same way she did to the strange man from before. She wouldn't have refused till she's dead. The medicine saint had only given her the 100 Ways of Refinement scroll as a gift. It could be seen that the old man didn't want to give her too much pressure. Because of that, she admires the medicine saint's character even more. She secretly vowed that she would meticulously study the 100 Ways of Refinement scroll, so that she won't make him lose face. The people that Xiao Wang had invited had all left. The remaining few people on the ship didn't have anything to do. So Xiao Wang ordered the servants to prepare a meal. The few people sat around the table, listening to the rain outside the window. The scenery was hazy. They drank and chatted merrily. With people like Luo and Xiao Wang present, they had a great time as they ate their meal. The methods of refining pills, 20. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, it was already afternoon. The clouds tinged with sunset hues in the horizon, which reflected a golden layer of light across the lake. After the rain had stopped, golden rays of light floated on the surface of the lake. The scene was charming and gentle. Huang Beiyu walked out onto the deck of the ship to take a breath of fresh air. However, she accidentally saw Feng Lian leaning on the railing of the ship. He was looking at the lake, lost in his own thoughts. Tiny specks of golden light sprinkled on his unusual pair of purple eyes, slowly making it unusually bewitching and enchanting. When he had heard footsteps, Feng He slightly turned around. His beautiful eyes looked at her as he lightly smiled. That evildoer's appearance would definitely make people lose their spirit. Huang Beiyu walked over without an expression. She stood next to the ship's railing. She was several steps away from him. The meaning of the distance between them was very clear. The meaning was, I'm not familiar with you. Feng He pretended that he couldn't see her deliberate alienation from him. Leaving the place he was at, he walked towards her with a smile. Huang Beiyu coldly raised her eyes. Her gaze swept across him. That gaze was like a sharp blade. Feng He immediately stopped his steps. If he continued to be insensitive, it would be boring. He slightly wrinkled his handsome brows. He could only, once again, lean on the railing of the ship. With only one hand supporting his body, he said, "The princess seems to be taking a lot of precautions against me. I must," Huang Beiyu faintly said. With just one word, she was able to take away the courage of the people that wanted to talk to her. Feng He helplessly smiled. He's not someone who is easily defeated. So he faintly smiled and asked, "Why? You're not a good person." Huang Beiyu said it directly. There was no one on the deck beside them, so she wasn't afraid of people overhearing them. "Just because I stole the lotus flame furnace from you?" Her cold and indifferent gaze swept across the evildoer's face. Her eyes were getting colder and colder. "From the first time I saw you, I knew you weren't a good person." With this, Feng He was completely speechless. So when the first time they had met, she already classified him as a bad person. That day he just coincidentally happened to be there. He just so happened to saw her snap the neck of the servant. He also just so happened to overhear her threaten that servant girl. He didn't do it intentionally. That little girl really is really good at holding a grudge. For some people, you need to slowly know them better to know whether they're good or bad. You can't just decide that with just a glance. He wanted to redeem his bad image in her heart. Huang Beiyu coldly said, "I can usually see someone's character very clearly. Good people are just good people. Bad people are just bad people." With no way out of the situation, Feng He laughed. It seemed that there was nothing he could do at the moment to establish a good image of himself in her heart. "Then when you're working with bad people, aren't you scared of asking a tiger for its skin?" he asked with a smile. The corners of Huang Beiyu's mouth was slightly raised. A trace of an unyielding smile bloomed. A silk of coldness flashed by her clear eyes. The coldness didn't match her age. "You are a tiger. I'm a wolf. A fight between the wolf and tiger. Who knows who'll win and who'll lose?" He really wanted to clap his hands and praise her. Her words were extremely marvelous, spicy, unwavering, and confident. He really appreciates it. "Okay then. Let's see the battle between the wolf and the tiger. Let's see who'll be the winner at the end." Huang Beiyu glanced at him. Her eyes didn't even twitch. She coldly snorted and turned around and walked further away to feel the breeze. Feng He looked at her petite yet straight back. Looking at her fragile body, how could she have such a strong heart within it? The difference between cloud and mud. 1. Beiyu Dynasty. After returning to Flowing Cloud's pavilion, Lu Yu excitedly took out the 100 Ways of Refinement scroll to study. The calligraphy on top of it was simple and unadorned. With just a glance, the scroll gave off a simple yet heavy feeling. It was brimming with power. Dong Ling increased the brightness of the light to the highest. She didn't dare to disturb her in the room, so she went to the outer room to sew clothes. Once Huang Beiyu had sat down, she had sat there for the entire night. She didn't even rest her eyes. She looked at all the words that were written on the scroll and only felt that her warm blood was pumping quickly in her chest. This is the best method of refining in this world. The scroll contained information about refining and refining tools, which she had never understood much about them before. But now, with the 100 Ways of Refinement scroll, the things she didn't understand before, she now understand them all. She was already smart. While she read, she was silently calculating and connecting everything in her mind. She didn't feel sleepy at all. The more she read, the more she felt at peace. She was itching to experiment refining again. It just so happened that the purple gold furnace that Nguagong had gifted her wasn't used yet. The herbs she had bought before was still in her space ring. She could just take them out and experiment with them. Just as she was thinking about taking out the purple gold furnace, the door in her courtyard was kicked down by someone. In her eyes, killing intent flashed by. She put away the 100 Ways of Refinement scroll, got up, and went outside. Dong Ling had already opened the door. She only saw concubine Shui walking in with a few strong guards and maids. Xiao Yun had also followed them in. When Xiao Yun saw her, hatred and bitter resentment immediately appeared on her face. "What is the concubine doing?" Dong Ling asked as she walked to the middle of the courtyard. With one hand, she blocked the group of people. Huang Beiyu was about to tell Dong Ling to come back when concubine Shui raised her hand and slapped Dong Ling. Dong Ling immediately fell down and her face became swollen. "You lowly thing! Who allowed you to block my path?" Concubine Shui shouted loudly. Bang! A flower vase flew over from the door, hitting concubine Shui's head. Concubine Shui let out a miserable shriek. Fresh blood flowed down from her forehead as she fell onto the floor. Concubine Shui getting hit, mother. Xiao Yun screamed. After that, she lifted her head in fury and glared at Huang Beiyu. "Huang Beiyu, are you tired of living? The people who are tired of living is you. Dong Ling is my maid. Who allowed you to hit her?" Huang Beiyu's cold gaze swept across them. Her manner was imposing and very serious. Xiao Yun, without any reason, began to tremble. If concubine Shui didn't hit Dong Ling, she could have endured it. But she just doesn't like it when other people bully her people. Xiao Yun couldn't endure this anger. She opened her mouth and the ice feather immediately appeared on her hand. The cold air was threatening. The entire courtyard immediately became cold. A sinister expression flashed on her face. She maliciously said, "It seems that you're getting more and more daring. If I don't teach you a lesson, then you will no longer know what the rules are." Huang Beiyu coldly stared at her. Her eyes were full of irony. "Second miss." Dong Ling covered her face, got up from the ground, and wiped away the tiny stream of blood on the corner of her mouth. She slowly walked next to Huang Beiyu and stood on the stone steps. Dong Ling looked down at them. "My young miss was personally bestowed the title of Princess Beiyu by the Emperor. If you guys dare to hurt her, then it means that you are looking down on the Emperor." Xiao Yun wanted to talk, but she was grabbed by concubine Shui. The maids were busy cleaning the bloodstain on concubine Shui's forehead. Concubine Shui coldly laughed. "I didn't see you for one day, and the third miss had changed a lot. Even I don't recognize you." The difference between cloud and mud, too. Huang Beiyu lightly raised the corners of her mouth into a smile. Concubine Shui is joking. Where is Beiyu changed? It's clearly because concubine Shui's eyes had become dull. It is because my eyes had become dull. For so many years, I didn't see that third miss has such bravery. Concubine Shui's anger turned into laughter. For the first time, she truly looked at Huang Beiyu, who was standing on the flight of steps. She had never noticed that this little girl who was too weak to stand up to the wind would actually have this kind of noble and fierce temperament. "You're flattering me," Huang Beiyu said with a faint smile. She wasn't arrogant or impatient as she said. Beiyu's character was inherited from mother. It's the so-called saying, like mother, like daughter. Isn't that right, concubine Shui? Saying up to here, she looked at Xiao Yun, who was spitting with anger. Huang Beiyu cynically raised the corners of her lips. Dong Ling, this little girl followed suit with a poochie one sound and laughed. Like mother, like daughter. To concubine Shui and Xiao Yun, that sentence was completely mocking them. It reminded them of the humiliation that Xiao Yun had faced on Xiao Yaowang's ship. Concubine Shui and Xiao Yun's face had all become red. Good news doesn't spread, but bad news would spread thousands of miles. The deeds that Xiao Yun had done, it had spread all over the streets of Lin Hui City. This formerly arrogant and talented summoner girl had become an object of ridicule in everyone's eyes. Before she was arrogant and annoying, now so many people loathe her. In the morning, Xiao Yun had gone out, but she had fled home under the numerous eye of contempt. Her face was pale white. Once she had entered by Shui courtyard, she threw herself on concubine Shui's embrace and cried loudly without end. Since she had grown up, She had grown up in the eyes of envy and jealousy from other people. She's a genius. She's Nanny Country's youngest female summoner. When she was just 16 years old, she was already a 3-star summoner. She was also able to summon out a rank 4 spirit beast of ice attribute, Snow Cat. At that time, how well regarded was she? The entire city was raining flowers for her. Whenever she went out, eyes filled with envy, worship, and adoration followed her. She had never experienced this kind of scorn and ridicule. It seemed as if everyone in the world looked down on her. Those people were secretly talking about how she's a woman who is unrestrained, frivolous, and doesn't understand etiquette. She clearly isn't. She had always kept herself clean. She had learned from the mistakes of concubine Qin. Since little, concubine Shui had taught her to properly treasure her reputation. They had always looked down on concubine Qin. That was because she had a disgraceful history from the past. But now, all these disgraceful history were all added to Xiao Yun now. When Xiao Yun had recalled all of that, she was so angry that her whole body was shaking. She stood up and pointed the ice feather in her hand at Huang Beiyu. Stop talking nonsense. If that day you didn't frame me, would I have to endure all this shame? Today I have come to settle this debt with you. I framed you? Huang Beiyu lightly laughed. There were so many people present that day when you had pushed me. What's more, you had pushed me in front of everyone. You had also dressed like that. If it wasn't out of the kindness of my heart to let Dong Ling give you my cloak to cover yourself, then I'm afraid that even more people would have laughed at you. What you're saying is pleasant to hear, but I didn't push you at all. You pretended to fall and made everyone believe you. That's why I was humiliated. Huang Beiyu glanced at her with contempt and coldly sneered in front of them. Dong Ling continued on Huang Beiyu's words. Second miss, you can't say that. That day there were so many experts present. Whether you had pushed her or not, a regular person wouldn't be able to tell. But do you think that those experts wouldn't be able to tell? Dong Ling's quick-witted eyes lightly swept across Xiao Yun's face that had turned purple due to anger as she continued to sneer. 1. Poochie, sound of giggling. The difference between cloud and mud. 3. Dong Ling's quick-witted eyes lightly swept across Xiao Yun's face. Xiao Yun's face had turned purple due to anger as Dong Ling continued to sneer. What's more, the second Miss's reputation in Lin Huai City is great. Also, the second Miss has the title of a genius. In contrast, my young Miss is an unknown sickly person. How could those people believe my young Miss instead of the second Miss? Dong Ling's clever and eloquent words would kill people. Xiao Yun choked because of swallowing the wrong way and was unable to even say one word. Her face was blushing a deep red. What Dong Ling had said made sense. That day there were many experts present. It's reasonable to say that it would be impossible for those experts to not see that Huang Beiyu had pretended to be pushed. But then why did those people not believe her? Could it be that she had really accidentally pushed Huang Beiyu? With this, even Xiao Yun is doubting herself. She had turned around and glanced at her mother, not daring to say anything more. Concubine Shui looked at the pair of master and servant. One after another they used their elegant and clever words, making the mother and daughter pair unable to fight back. There was a fire burning in her heart. She already secretly had killing intentions towards Huang Beiyu. Anyways, Princess Zhang's prefecture was already surrounded by the people from Unwavering prefecture. It would be extremely easy if they kill Huang Beiyu and shift the blame on Unwavering's people. She had never felt this way before, but she feels that if she continued to allow Huang Beiyu to live, she would be a disaster in the future. Huang Beiyu coldly looked at the concubine Shui's changing expression combined with the malicious light that flashed through her eyes. Huang Beiyu could easily understand concubine Shui's intentions. You want to kill someone and blame it on someone else? What's scary about dying? The crucial part is how one dies and whose hand they died at. It's also important as to reason that they had died for. It was merely concubine Shui and Xiao Yun. How are they even qualified to kill her? She'll make them unable to kill her and instead make them beg her to live. Huang Beiyu already had a plan. She raised her head and looked at concubine Shui, who was secretly giving a meaningful look at the bodyguard that had followed her here. Suddenly, she coldly humphed and slowly began to talk. Concubine Shui. That day, second sister had told everyone about Concubine Qin's disgraceful history during Princess Hongling's birthday feast. Now, they're harboring hard feelings towards you. Now that something like this had happened to second sister, they have something that could be used against you. Concubine Qin wants to make Xiao Yun's reputation like hers, ruined for a lifetime. My Yun heir had become like this all due to you. Now you're actually kind enough to warn me? Huang Bei, you don't forget. It was you who incited us to ruin her reputation. If she knew that, what do you think she'll do to you? That Qin slut's means of doing things is even fiercer than mine. Concubine Shui is naturally not stupid. Huang Bei Yu and she are two grasshoppers on the same boat. If something happens to her, then she won't let Huang Bei Yu live well. Huang Bei Yu tilted her head while she listened to her. Suddenly, she shook her head and softly sighed. Concubine Shui, are you really stupid, or are you faking it? You said that I had incited you to ruin Concubine Qin's reputation. Do you have any evidence? Concubine Shui and Xiao Yun simultaneously stared blankly at her. Evidence? The words that were spoken at that time, only Concubine Shui and her maid had heard it. There was no one else present at that time to testify that it had really happened. Also, at that time she thought that Huang Bei Yu was a weak and incompetent fool, so she didn't think about keeping any evidence at all. Now that she thought about it, she had fallen into this little girl's trap. She had stood in the back, provoking them. Concubine Shui had thought that she had the support of the Empress Dowager and the Emperor, so she didn't fear anything. She had used all her courage and fought with Concubine Qin. Now that she thought about it, cold sweat had overflowed. The difference between cloud and mud 4. Now that she thought about it, cold sweat had overflowed. Once Prime Minister Qi suddenly reminisces about his father and daughter relationship with Concubine Qin, then the consequences would be unthinkable once he finds out that she's the one who had ruined Concubine Qin's reputation and disgraced the Prime Minister's prefecture. You ruthless little girl. Concubine Shui suddenly lets out a heart-tearing and lung-splitting shriek. How could she not think of that? This waste actually had set such a big trap and made her jump into it. This was basically giving her a painful slap on her face. It made all her arrogance and confidence in herself disappeared. How could she be defeated by a little girl who was a waste since she was young? Ruthless? Has Concubine Shui ever heard of a common saying? The mouth of the snake and the bee's stinger are all venomous, yet it's not as venomous as a woman's heart. Huang Bei Yu mockingly sneered at them. She is ruthless? Then what about Concubine Shui, who had slowly fed her poison for so many years? This woman is really living in her own world. She's almost crazy. She had causally scolded and yelled at other people. Did she ever think about what kind of trash she is? What qualifications does she have to yell at her? The thing she had done today was merely a tiny bit of retribution of all the pains that Huang Bei Yu had suffered for so many years. This is only the beginning. A light suddenly flashes by Concubine Shui's eyes as she had calmed down from her crazy state. She wiped the bloodstain on her forehead and fixed her messy hair. Her makeup was already ruined. Her middle-aged but still attractive face had become sinister and disgusting. A woman's heart is the most venomous. Well said, ah. Concubine Shui coldly said. Even a little bit of kindness towards your enemy is the worst cruelty to yourself, ah. Huang Bei Yu's cold eyes slowly swept across the bodyguards at Concubine Shui's side. Their attractive and graceful face was calm and collected. She coldly swung her sleeve as she turned around to go into the house. As she had slowly walked, she coldly said, I advise you to become smarter. If I am dead, what kind of ability do you have to fight against Concubine Qin and the Prime Minister's prefecture? After she had finished, she didn't care what kind of reaction Concubine Shui would have as she went inside her room. Dong Ling stood on the porch. One side of her cheek was red and swollen. But when she raised her head and looked down at those people, she really looked proud. Concubine Shui and Second Miss, as long as Princess Bei Yu is in this prefecture, don't even talk about the Prime Minister's prefecture. Even Nguagong's prefecture doesn't dare to do anything. Do you really want to destroy this big mountain? Dong Ling's smile was a little smug as she looked at Concubine Shui and Xiao Yun, who was fuming with rage between gritted teeth. Dong Ling coldly glanced at them. Talking to concubine Shui and Xiao Yun, these kinds of people, is just wasting your saliva. To tell you the truth, if my young miss is no longer here, the people from Nguagong's prefecture would have exterminated the entire Xiao family. Whose spotlight had you guys been living on up till now? Why don't you guys even think about it? As she had said that, she looked at Xiao Yun. Her words weren't one bit forgiving. Also, second miss, the you right now can't be compared to the you in the past. If you go outside, people will ridicule you. Now our Princess Shang's prefecture's face will be unrelated to you. You're the same type of person as concubine Qin. It's best if you don't leave the prefecture too often so you'll lose less face. Xiao Yun had relied on force to bully others just because of the fact that she's a genius. But Dong Ling doesn't feel like there's anything wrong with relying on force to bully others. She's relying on her young miss right now to bully Xiao Yun and concubine Shui. She's very content. When she had finished talking, she also had entered the room. She closed the door confidently and at ease. She didn't care at all as to how ugly concubine Shui and Xiao Yun's expressions were. The difference between cloud and mud. 5. Mother, that slut. Xiao Yun was angry to the point that she had almost crushed her silver teeth. She was itching to rush up and peel off Dong Ling's skin, drink her blood, and eat her meat. Concubine Shui's chest pounded for a few times. People who have a profound mind is able to endure it. She heavily patted Xiao Yun's hand and fiercely said, "She won't be arrogant for long." Xiao Yun knew that concubine Shui had poisoned Huang Beiyu. Thus, when she thinks about how Huang Beiyu's body was already corroded with poison right now, Xiao Yun was somewhat comforted. Her body will be merely an empty vessel soon. According to the doses that concubine Shui had given to Huang Beiyu, in less than half a year, Huang Beiyu would be the same as Princess Zhang. It's merely half a year. They'll wait for Huang Beiyu to die, and then take care of that clever and eloquent maid. Humph. She must tear her mouth apart and pull her teeth out one by one. Mother. Xiao Yun helped concubine Shui pack to their pavilion. She told the bodyguards and the maids to stand away from them, making them unable to hear their conversation. What should we do now? How come Huang Beiyu, that little girl, had suddenly changed so much? Does she know? Impossible. Concubine Shui raised her hand to stop Xiao Yun from guessing. I've been very cautious about this matter. All these years, only you and I know of the matter. Even a highly skilled doctor wouldn't be able to figure it out. Could it be that yesterday, Xiao Yaowang had figured it out? The inner flame of worry inside her heart was like a flame that was burning her. Concubine Shui was stunned for a second, but immediately shook her head. No, if Xiao Yaowang had figured it out, then he definitely won't let us go. Xiao Yun's beautiful and alluring face was suddenly filled with deep-rooted hatred. Huang Beiyu, that cheap little girl. Poisoning her to death is letting her off lightly. She had made me become so humiliated in front of Xiao Yaowang. After thinking for a bit, concubine Shui said, listening to Huang Beiyu's tone today, it seems that she's standing on the same line as us. As long as we use her, there'll be chances where you can get close to Xiao Yaowang. Mother. Xiao Yun suddenly raised the pitch of her voice. Are you telling me that I still need to be nice to that cheap little girl? Yun Air concubine Shui glared at her. This little girl has recently been unable to remain calm. Xiao Yun felt like she's wronged as she said, she caused me such harm. I'm itching to kill her. I can't be patient and accommodating to her. If you're unable to bear it, then you'll ruin the big plan. The things that had happened yesterday already had happened. If you want Xiao Yaowang to have a good impression of you in his heart, then curry favor with your third sister. But, concubine Shui said, Yun Air, with your beauty, talent, and ability, you're better than Huang Beiyu by 10,000 times. Xiao Yaowang would naturally find your good points. Think about marrying him in the future and think about the essence cleansing pill. What can you not endure? As Xiao Yun listened to concubine Shui's words, she thought her reasoning in her heart. Yes, her beauty, talent, and ability are all above Huang Beiyu. Besides Huang Beiyu's status as the daughter of the main wife, how can she compare to her? She is a 3-star summoner. But Huang Beiyu, on the other hand, can't even condense her vitality. What's more, she's also a sick person. The distance between them is like the difference between cloud and mud. When she marries Xiao Yaowang in the future, and obtain the essence cleansing pill, then Huangbei, you can no longer catch up to her. Mother, what you said is right. How can that Huangbei you be compared to me? Humph. I'll endure it now and in the future. I'll repay the debt to her. This is my good daughter, concubine Shui said as she happily patted her hand. The difference between cloud and mud 6. This is mother's good daughter. Concubine Shui patted her hand, gratified. She smiled. When you become the Xiao Yao Wang's Wang Fei, so what if concubine Qin has the support of the prime minister's prefecture? When the time comes, we don't need to rely on Huang Beiyu, that smelly girl. We can torture her to death however we want. Mother and daughter thought as they wanted with great imagination. They had no idea the words that they had said were all heard by Huang Beiyu. Inside the room of the Flowing Clouds Pavilion, Huang Beiyu shook her head as she faintly smiled. What a great pair of outrageous mother and daughter. Not to mention the excessive delusion illness, they also have selective memory loss. Based on Xiao Yao Wang's status and position, how could Xiao Yun, who has a bad reputation, become his Wang Fei? These two, mother and daughter, thought that based on beauty and wisdom along with that pitiful 3-star summoner strength could have let Xiao Yao Wang look at them differently? Don't indulge in fantasy. Who is Xiao Yao Wang? He had seen various beautiful women above Xiao Yun in beauty and wisdom. Where had Xiao Yun gotten the confidence that made her think Xiao Yao Wang will definitely fall for her? Young miss, what are you thinking that made you so happy? Dong Ling saw her face of happiness, as though she is in a lot of joy. So she happily asked as well. I am laughing that there is almost a Wang Fei coming out from our prefecture. Can I not be ecstatic? Wang Fei. Dong Ling blinked her eyes, not understanding. This small 3-star summoner dared to not even put me in their eyes. If she becomes Xiao Yao Wang's Wang Fei, then how would that turn out in the future? Once Dong Ling had heard this, she immediately knew who Huang Beiyu spoke of. She covered her small mouth and giggled. The second young miss wants to be Xiao Yao Wang's Wang Fei? This dream that she made might be too bizarre. Dong Ling curled her lips. Suddenly she thought of something and said, Actually, I think that the way Xiao Yao Wang acted towards young miss, Huang Beiyu's faint eyes swept over. Dong Lin instantly stuck her tongue out and closed her mouth. Momentarily after, she smiled. In short, Xiao Yao Wang is very nice to young miss. To the second young miss, he hadn't even spared a glance at her. No matter whether Xiao Yao Wang has intentions towards her or not, all of Xiao Yun's beautiful dreams, I will never let them come true. Huang Beiyu's face slowly became cold and indifferent. This pair of mother and daughter, she won't easily let them go, right? Only nightmares, no beautiful dreams. Dongling also determinedly announced. Dongling, you go out and keep a lookout for me. Don't let anyone disturb me. Huang Beiyu was prepared to follow the lonely medicine saint's 100 refines, ancient scrolls, to first experiment with refining. So during this period of time, no one was allowed to disturb her. Looking at her serious expression, Dongling knew what to do. She nodded her head, closed the door, and walked out. Huang Beiyu took out the purple flame furnace from the space ring as well as some materials. She placed them all on the ground and sat on a cushion with her legs crossed. She sorted each of the materials out. What she was preparing to refine was a type of low-grade healing drug, growth muscle pill. Growth muscle pill was popular between mercenaries and adventurers. It had the efficacy of quickly stopping the bleed of blood and aid to assemble the wound back together. The way to refine it was pretty simple and the materials were commonly seen, along with a cheap price. Normal refining pharmacists would refine this and actually refine this in large amounts in short amount of time. As long as they refined it out, these mercenaries and adventurers would definitely grab the pill crazily. She prepared the 5 types of attributes of materials, then slowly ignited a fire. She guided the flame into the purple flame furnace and placed a fire attribute, grassworm fruit, in there. The difference between cloud and mud. 7. Immediately, the flame surrounded the grassworm fruit. It slowly calcined, and the waste of the epidermis was quickly calcined out. The grassworm fruit, with the size of a fist, slowly burned into a pile of powder. Then she placed the wind-attributed snake tail grass in. She watched as the flame slowly swallowed the materials, calcined, and turned into powder. The types of materials were all transformed into powder, floating separately within the purple flame furnace. Through the flames transmitted outwards, Huang Bei you could observe each movement inside the purple flame furnace. When refining pills, heat control must be controlled well. The materials were placed inside first, then after it was calcined into powder, the flame must be weakened. Otherwise, the medicine properties would all be swallowed, but the flame can't be completely diminished either. Otherwise, the medicine powders would spread out and refining could fail. Therefore, when the 5 types of materials were placed inside, the time when it did so would be different. The heat of the flame must be different as well. The different attributed types of materials needed, different types of flames. These are all testing the mental ability of a refining pharmacist. As long as one place wasn't controlled well, the whole process of refining pills would end up as a failure. It was her first time she attempted to truly refine pills, so a layer of sweat droplets appeared on Huang Beiyu's forehead. She didn't dare to relax one bit, observing in detail what was going on in the purple flame furnace. Finally, the 5 types of materials were to the point where they would be mixed together. Under the flame's condensation, it slowly intertwined and mixed with each other. After it calcined for a while, a green-colored pill the size of a thumb floated up on the purple flame furnace. Success! The momentary joy made Huang Beiyu stunned for a while. After that, she hurriedly took out the growth muscle pill out from the purple flame furnace and placed it in her hand to carefully examine it. It was no doubt a pill. Although on the surface the pill contained some flaws and naturally couldn't be compared to the jade pill that Xian Yaowang had refined, it was her first time refining a pill, and the fact it had reached this kind of level was considered to be very good. Normal refining pharmacists would have to go to numerous tries and failures when they first started to even manage to refine a pill that looked good enough. Her level right now could be considered as a genius. After one pill was refined successfully, Huang Beiyu immediately worked to refine another pill. This time, she refined 2 pills at once and added more materials in. This tested more about handling heat control. The second time she refined 2 pills. One looked pretty good while the other one slightly had flaws. Overall, though, it made her quite happy. Next, up until dinner time, she locked herself in the room by herself, continuously refining pills. When the sky became dark, she had already successfully refined more than hundreds of growth muscle pill. Although she was so tired that her waist hurts and her back was sore, but the happy feeling in her heart, don't even mention it. Before she kept on being confused about the problem of refining pharmacists. Now this completely hadn't posed as a problem for her. Right now she is also considered as an official refining pharmacist. Dongling. She happily called for Dongling. Dongling had already prepared dinner and coincidentally, she was about to bring it in. She saw the countless materials laid on the ground and a furnace. She was shocked. "Young miss, you are dash." Huang Beiyu delivered a treasured wooden box over to Dongling. "Look at it." Dongling took it from her and opened it. Inside she saw there were countless green pills. Only a few had flaws. Plus it could be seen that each of them was much rounder than the other. Beautiful. This is growth muscle pill. Dongling recognized the commonly seen pill between mercenaries and adventurers. Her head spun and she immediately understood, excitedly exclaimed, "Young miss, you really became a refining pharmacist?" The difference between cloud and mud. 8. Huang Beiyu nodded her head. Could it be fake? She is a genius. Dongling was so excited her eyes sparkled and tightly hugged the wooden box. The huge eyes suddenly had tears which flowed down her face. "What are you crying for?" "I have become a refining pharmacist. Isn't that good?" Huang Beiyu, from the start, had no idea how to comfort people. When she saw someone who cried, she would have become worried. Of course not. Dongling shook her head hard. Dongling is happy. Now young miss is one of Nanny country's very best summoner. Plus now, young miss is a refining pharmacist. This was rarely seen since ancient times. Then what are you crying for? Stop crying. I have a task for you. Dong Lipe wiped the tears off. What task? Young miss, just say it. These growth muscle pills, if taken to the market, how much money for one? Huang Bei, you didn't really understand the prices of pills yet. Because the growth muscle pill was placed in water to dissolve and used in a bottle, one growth muscle pill could be used many times. Therefore, the price is around 200 gold coins for each. Huang Bei was speechless. Even the most basic growth muscle pill is around 200 gold coins, so it wasn't surprising how refining pharmacists were rich. All these materials added all together were only about a couple thousand gold coins in total. Then tomorrow, take it to the market and sell them. Then buy some more materials for me. Yes, Dong Ling straightforwardly agreed. In the past, she had already wanted to check out the Buji air market to see those mercenaries and adventurers, but she never had the chance to. Tomorrow she definitely can open her eyes greatly. 1. After refining 1 day's worth of pills, she had consumed a great amount of energy. Huang Bei was so tired she only wanted to go sleep. She quickly ate her dinner, then got on her bed to sleep. Just as she closed her eyes, the Ice Luan spirit bird's voice sounded in her heart. Master. Ice, how did it go? Huang Bei confusedly asked. She felt at ease when Ice went to do his things. Crown Prince Zhang Yi had already withdrawn his troops, as well as apologizing to Principal Tsang He. Principal Tsang He hadn't gone after him either. Then that is good. Huang Bei murmured. Do you still have something to say, Ice? Crown Prince Zhang Yi hopes to see you. Master, he seemed to be worried about you. Huang Bei slightly curled up the corner of her lips. In her heart, a feeling of warmth seemed to have risen. The friendship that came from Zhang Yi and her fighting together was much deeper than any other feelings. When she was poisoned, he personally helped her suck out her poisonous fluid. This type of friendship was enough for it to be engraved in her heart. The summoner and spiritual beast that had not agreed on a contract couldn't communicate with each other. But spiritual beasts are able to interact with each other without a problem. These words were definitely passed from the purple flame Qilin over to the Ice Luan spirit bird. She thought about it, even though she was very tired, but once she thought of Zhang Yi, who was worrying about her right now, she thought she should go and meet him. She forced her mind to wake up and placed the cloak on. She let Dong Ling look after the house, then left. Without a doubt, many people from Onguagong's prefecture stood outside of Princess Zhang's prefecture. She snuck out and no one realized. After she was far away, she summoned the Ice Luan spirit bird to let him guide them to see Zhang Yi. Ice Luan's spirit bird hadn't headed towards the direction of the palace, but instead one of the courtyards of the suburbs. The courtyard was huge, but only one side of the yard had lights on. Ice Luan's spirit bird's enormous body slowly descended from the sky and moved in a circle around the yard. The window was then opened from the room with lights on. The handsome young man with black hair and robes on appeared by the window. The cold face held a tinge of paleness. But once he saw her, the serious face that rarely smiled floated a trace of happiness. The difference between cloud and mud 9. The huge Ice Luan spirit bird halfway in the sky emitted an ice blue color like water. The mysterious black-cloaked person on the bird's back slightly nodded their head towards him. The fire-like red hairs appeared outside of the cloak, which moved around according to the wind. It was confident and at ease. Zhang Yi left the window and took large strides to open the door. His face was anxious and his heartbeat wasn't normal as it always had been. In his whole life, he couldn't think of any moment that would have made him extremely excited like this. Even if he counted in the past when he first summoned Purple Flame Qilin, though he was ecstatic, it wasn't like this. He felt as though his heart was about to jump out. Huang Bei jumped down from the ice spirit bird's back. Her figure was beautiful and confident. As the black cloak was revealed, the fire-like red hair was like flames that burned rapidly. She raised her head to look at Zhang Yi, who came out from inside. The two people's gaze met in the air, and without saying anything, the two of them had a mutual understanding. You're fine then, that's good. Huang Bei's face was hidden under the black cloak. Zhang Yi hadn't seen her expression, but he knew in her heart right now. She was very happy as well because the breath on her body was gentle and light. Crown Prince's body doesn't seem to be too well. Huang Bei noticed how his face was much paler than usual. I have gotten a cold, no big deal. Zhang Yi invited her to take a seat by the side of the yard stone table. He waved his hand to bring out a cup of tea. Huang Beiyu raised her head to look at his face. She noticed how in his pale white lips there was a trace of green. Suddenly, her heart felt heavy and scrunched her eyebrows as she said, "You got poisoned?"
Cough, cough.
Zhang Yi lightly coughed. He waved his hand. "No, it's just a cold." Huang Beiyu's face turned gloomy, saying, "If Crown Prince thinks of me as your friend, then you shouldn't hide this from me. Was it because that day you had helped me dash? Don't take it to your heart. I had done it voluntarily." Zhang Yi hurriedly explained. He heard her unhappy tone and began to worry. It was no doubt like this. That day he had used his mouth to suck out the snake poison, but that sky-swallowing red snake was different from normal snakes. The poison was much stronger and couldn't be compared to normal snakes. At that time she was poisoned, and he immediately sucked out the poison for her. The poisonous fluid went into his mouth, and even though he spat it out, one portion of the poison would have still remained in his mouth and flow into his body. The situation during that time was too anxious, and many other problems had arisen after that. Therefore, she hadn't even thought about this. Now she felt guilty in her heart. "I will go think of a solution." Huang Beiyu stood up. The poison of the sky swallowing red snake was not a small matter. It must be quickly resolved. Otherwise, the toxin will start to erode the internal organs, then ruin the 5 viscera and 6 bowels. By then, it will be too late. Shi Tian. Zhang Yi suddenly raised his hand over and grabbed her arm despite the stone table in between. Then he suddenly thought it wasn't appropriate and loosened his hand. Huang Beiyu hadn't thought much, and she sat down again. Her voice was slightly hoarse. "Crown Prince, the sky-swallowing red snake's poison is not to be underestimated. You must quickly get an antidote for the poison, otherwise I know." Father Emperor had already sent people to ask Xian Yaowang to think of a solution. Zhang Ye's face was peaceful, as though he hadn't taken to heart that he was poisoned. Probably even Xiao Yaowang had no solution. However, Xiao Yaowang might have a pill that could postpone the toxicity and suppress the snake poison in Zhang Ye's body for a while. However, if wanted to completely get rid of the snake poison, that is impossible. Besides the Honorable Spirit's punishment flame, currently, there wasn't a method to detoxify the poison. The difference between cloud and mud, 10. But the punishment flame from the Honorable Spirit isn't something that can be easily obtained. Shi Tian, how's the poison in your body? Zhang Yi asked with concern. The poison in her body should be even worse than his. I'm pretty well right now. That day I was accidentally by the punishment flame, and it had burned the poison out of my body. Huang Beiyu had said half-truth and half-lies. That day the matter about meeting that man in the Sea of Fire, she doesn't want other people to know for now. It's not that she doesn't trust Zhang Yi. It's that the matter regarding that man was too strange. There was also no point in saying it. But the matter as to how the punishment flame can cleanse the poison of the sky-swallowing red snake, she didn't hide it from Zhang Yi. After he heard what she had just said, Zhang Ye's cold face became surprised. "You endured the punishment flame?" The people who had received the punishment flame would be in a coma for a few days in order to wake up. This Shi Tian, it seemed like she didn't receive any major injuries. It could be that I'm lucky and had only been hit by a small flame. Hence, I didn't get any serious injuries from it. She vaguely understood that the man from that day didn't genuinely intend to injure her by using the punishment flame. Zhang Yi muttered to himself irresolutely. I didn't expect that the punishment flame would be able to control the poison from the sky-swallowing red snake. Huang Beiyu's heart slightly stirred. She asked, "If the emperor ordered a decree, would Principal Song He be able to ask the Honorable Spirit out to help Crown Prince detoxify the poison?"
It's impossible.
Zhang Yi didn't even think about it before shaking his head. There was no disappointment or resentment on his handsome face. Instead, he had an elegant demeanor on, like a person of a noble character. Although the Honorable Spirit is the patron saint of Lingyang College on the surface, in fact, he has nothing to do with Lingyang College. He had lived in the 7th tower for so many years, yet even Principal Song He didn't see him appear much. Principal Song He simply can't move him. On the contrary, Huang Beiyu's disappointment was a bit heavy. Originally, she had thought that if the emperor had commanded it, even if the Honorable Spirit is big and prideful, no matter what, he would have come out. But now that she had listened to Zhang Yi, she felt that that honorable spirit isn't a good thing. Huang Beiyu was silent for a moment as she thought about it. Since they're unable to invite the honorable spirit, then they could only think of another solution. She doesn't know if the scroll that the medicine saint had given her, the 100 Ways of Refinement scroll, would have any solution to this. Tonight when she goes home, she'll take a good look at it. She was just thinking this when Yin, who was in her heart, lazily sneered, "Stop dreaming. Only the punishment flame can completely cleanse the sky-swallowing red snake. There is no other solution in this world." Huang Beiyu coldly snorted. Yin, this old monster, he was almost burned to death, and he still had come out to make sarcastic remarks. "Yin, you want me to beg the honorable spirit? If you want to save Crown Prince Zhang Yi, then that is the only way." Huang Beiyu no longer responded to Yin. If there is really no other solution, in order to save Zhang Yi, she'll go look for the honorable spirit. They had gone through fire and water as well as fighting side by side. He trusts her, and he had helped her. Huang Beiyu had always returned people's droplets of grace with gushing spring. But in any case, she can't let Zhang Yi lose his life just because he saved hers. "I know some refining pharmacist. Maybe they might have a solution." Huang Beiyu fixed her black cloak. She slightly relaxed her voice. "Your Highness, you must take care of your health." "Thank you." Zhang Yi smiled as he nodded his head. He had always known that this Shi Tian's origin was mysterious, so he didn't think it was strange that she knew a few refining pharmacists. The difference between Cloud and Mud 11. Huang Beiyu smiled straightforwardly. "If the Crown Prince considers me as a friend, then there is no need to thank me." Zhang Yi stared at her blankly. He was deeply moved by her straightforward character. Zhang Yi brightly smiled as he said, "Good. Huang Zhang Yi recognized you as a friend for a lifetime." Huang Beiyu's heart was exhilarated. She is not a young miss from a rich family. Since she was a child, she had followed her master. She had seen many big scenes and important people. So her character is straightforward, generous, and she doesn't bother about trifle matters. When she had heard what Zhang Yi had said, warm feelings had bubbled forth from her heart. She reached out her hand and smiled. "Good. Friends for a lifetime." Zhang Yi was stunned when he saw the fair, delicate, and small hand that had reached out from the black cloak. Her fingertips are slender and pretty while her skin is as delicate as jade. He doesn't know why, but his heart had skipped a beat. There is often an outspoken and straightforward handshake between mercenaries. When the two people's hands are held together, it represents that the two had sworn to live and die together. Warm feelings had also bubbled forth from his heart. He extended his big hand and held onto her small hand. He smiled as he said, "We'll help each other even at the cost of one's life, and we'll die without regrets." Huang Beiyu continued. Under the night scene, which was covered densely by many stars, the laughter from the two people resounded. Behind them, their spirit beast lazily raised their eyes. One of them is of fire attribute and the other one is of water, ice attribute. It's impossible to mix water and fire. At this moment, they glanced at each other and very proudly and arrogantly looked away. The purple flaming unicorn said, "This Shi Tian is really phony. Since she's already friends with the Crown Prince, why doesn't she reveal herself?" The Ice Luan spirit bird coldly said, "My master has her own difficulties. Crown Prince Zhang Yi isn't bothered by it. So why are you bothered by it?" "Master." The purple flaming unicorn was flabbergasted as he widens his eyes. "Ice Luan spirit bird, you're one of the 5 spirit beasts. Yet you actually call a human your master?" "Humph. My master is an enigmatic person. Did you think that she's just an ordinary person? To be able to meet this kind of master, I voluntarily surrendered. It's my own pride. What does it have to do with you?" The Ice Luan spirit bird said disdainfully. "You voluntarily surrendered?" The purple flaming unicorn was unable to remain calm when he had heard that. "What you mean is that you and Shi Tian didn't make the life and death contract?" "Naturally." The Ice Luan spirit bird turned its nostril upward, not putting the purple flaming unicorn's ridicule in its eyes at all. "Humph. That stupid purple flaming unicorn. If he knew how strong my master's powers are, then he would no longer be this arrogant. The purple flaming unicorn was completely shocked by the Iceland spirit bird. He gasped for a few breaths as he incredibly glanced at the mysterious person underneath the black cloak. This Shition, what is her identity? The Iceland spirit bird is one of the 5 spirit beasts. He's already very close to becoming a godly spirit beast. Even in the entire Cardi continent, he is a very powerful being. But just now, he had heard the Iceland spirit bird say that he had directly surrendered to a human. What is happening? Even if it's a heavenly ranked summoner, it would still be impossible to make the Iceland spirit bird, who is part of the 5 spirit beasts, to voluntarily surrender. The purple flaming unicorn, who was tangled in a midst of confusion, gloomily looked at Huang Beiyu. The more he looked, the more unbelievable it was. Zhang Yi knew that Huang Beiyu doesn't want to show her true identity to other people, so he didn't say anything about her cloak. The two drank and chatted merrily. Huang Beiyu has experienced a lot when she was at modern times, so when she spoke, she had made Zhang Yi constantly surprised. Hi guys, it's Cookie here. I know it's been a while and I apologize for that. It has been quite hectic with transferring our domain and things like that. My translating skills have gotten rusty, so bear with me. XD. The difference between Cloud and Mud. 12. Huang Beiyu had a wide field of vision. During the modern times, she was experienced and knowledgeable, and the words said by her led Zhang Yi to repeatedly be astonished. In his heart, he admired even more of Shi Tian's straightforward and wise personality. In the past, Huang Beiyu had thought that Zhang Yi was the type of person who was born reserved, didn't talk much, and indifferent. After a while of discussion, she realized what she had acknowledged before was wrong. In fact, as long as he had met friends he was able to get along with, he was also able to speak frankly with assurance and laugh heartily. From this chat, before in regards to each other's cold and detached impression, their point of views had largely changed. The two people both had the feeling as though the regret that they hadn't met sooner. Huang Beiyu really thought that this was the first time she had made a friend. Coming to this era, Zhang Ye's calm but not lacking a bright personality was really to her liking. The night was turning dark and Zhang Ye's body wasn't feeling too good. Huang Beiyu also got ready to leave. Zhang Yi watched the gloomy dark night color, and in his heart, he had never forgotten that Shi Tian was a girl. No matter how strong she was, letting her go home in the middle of the night by herself, his heart still felt guilty. There is a lot of empty rooms here. How about I let someone clean up one room, and you'll just sleep in the room for tonight? Well, this is no need. I have somewhere to go and someone is waiting for me. This probably isn't the best idea. At this moment, Dong Ling was definitely at home, wishing for the stars, wishing for the moon, waiting for her to come home. Plus, she needed to wake up early tomorrow morning to go to Lingyang College for class. It is impossible for her to stay here. Seeing that she was determined with her decision, Zhang Yi couldn't urge her to stay here anymore. He slightly scrunched his eyebrows. The handsome face, under the moonlight, had a type of reserved handsomeness. I was listening to you speak and I know that you come from a very far place from here. Over here, you don't know anyone or any familiar places. Do you want to consider arranging a steady home? Huang Beiyu saw how he was already considering for her future, and in her heart, she couldn't help to feel warm. Becoming friends, the most important was to put yourself in someone else's shoes. How nicely Zhang Yi had treated her was not just because she was powerful. If his heart even held a slight intention of using her, she wouldn't even be friends with him. He was kind to Shi Tian. Towards Huang Beiyu, likewise, he had helped and protected her a couple times as well. This favor, she will remember in her heart. After a while, once she was done putting the people of family Shao into their place, she will definitely confess to him. I came to Lin Huai City for personal matters. Once I finish dealing with the matters, then I will consider about finding a steady place to live. Zhang Yi hadn't forced her either. When he heard her speak of personal matters, he had inquired, "Your matters, if you need some assistance, don't hesitate to find me." Huang Beiyu faintly smiled. Hidden under the cloak, he couldn't see her smile. "I am here just to find someone." Now, I had found them. Inside Zhang Ye's black eyes flashed through the trace of subtle light. "The person that you're trying to find Is it Princess Beiyu? Huang Beiyu's heart harshly thumped. She thought in her heart that did he actually see through her? However, the worry in her heart quickly passed by. Zhang Yi watched as she was stunned momentarily, then explained apologetically, I was just casually saying my predictions. That day in the Imperial Palace banquet, after you defeated Sima Guiyin, the raging seven-tailed dragon had fallen down and almost knocked into Princess Beiyu. You were driving the ice spirit Luan bird and rushing down to save her. The raging seven-tailed dragon's body was extraordinarily huge. During that time, there were numerous people in the Imperial Palace banquet, and by the side of the prefecture of Princess Zhang's seat, there were many other seats containing Nan Yigua's people. However, Shi Tian didn't save anyone, but she had rushed down to save Huang Beiyu instead. Based on this, he had inferred that the reason why Shi Tian came to Lin Huai City was due to Princess Beiyu. After she heard his words, Huang Beiyu had let out a sigh. As it turned out, he had seen through that day's events. I came to Lin Huai City for personal matters. Once I finish dealing with the matters, then I will consider about finding a steady place to live. Zhang Yi hadn't forced her either. When he heard her speak of personal matters, he had inquired, Your matters, if you need some assistance, don't hesitate to find me. Huang Beiyu faintly smiled. Hidden under the cloak, he couldn't see her smile. I am here just to find someone. Now, I had found them. Inside Zhang Ye's black eyes flashed through the trace of subtle light. The person that you're trying to find, is it Princess Beiyu? Huang Beiyu's heart harshly thumped. She thought in her heart that did he actually see through her? However, the worry in her heart quickly passed by. Zhang Yi watched as she was stunned momentarily, then explained apologetically, I was just casually saying my predictions. That day in the Imperial Palace banquet, after you defeated Sima Guiyin, the raging seven-tailed dragon had fallen down and almost knocked into Princess Beiyu. You were driving the ice spirit Luan bird and rushing down to save her. The raging seven-tailed dragon's body was extraordinarily huge. During that time, there were numerous people in the Imperial Palace banquet, and by the side of the prefecture of Princess Zhang's seat, there were many other seats containing Nan Yigua's people. However, Shi Tian didn't save anyone, but she had rushed down to save Huang Beiyu instead. Based on this, he had inferred that the reason why Shi Tian came to Lin Huai City was due to Princess Beiyu. After she heard his words, Huang Beiyu had let out a sigh. As it turned out, he had seen through that day's events. Zhang Ye's heart had relaxed too. Before he had heard her words, he was really startled. He thought that she knew something he didn't. Princess Zhang had died due to a sickness. If she was really murdered, then Royal Father Emperor will definitely look into that. You should go rest soon. I will go now. Huang Beiyu jumped onto the ice spirit Luan bird's back, saying goodbye and leaving. Zhang Yi watched as her shadow disappeared within the night, then turned around to walk into the room. Just as he stepped through the door, he stopped. He turned around to order the servant in the yard. Yong'an, Princess Zhang's cause of death, go investigate that again. I want every little detail relating to this.
Yes, Crown Prince.
As that servant opened its mouth, the voice was sharp and thin. It was actually a palace eunuch. Huang Beiyu secretly returned back to Lu Yunge. Dong Ling was obviously still waiting for her, despite how tired she was. When she saw her walking in with a not-too-good look on, she asked about her worriedly. Young miss, how are you? Huang Beiyu took off her cloak and placed it on the bed. The voice was stuffy. Dong Ling, back when concubine Shui had placed the poison, did you personally witness it? Once Dong Ling heard what she had asked for, her eyes turned red. She shook her head, responding, Dong Ling wasn't present when it happened, but the person present was Princess Zhang's Aunt Jianqiu, whom she brought out from the Imperial Palace. But once Princess Zhang had passed away, Aunt Jianqiu had also committed suicide. Huang Beiyu remembered this Aunt Jianqiu. She was just like Princess Zhang. Both of them were a gentle and kind woman, always nice to her since childhood. The difference between cloud and mud. 14. During that year when Princess Zhang had passed away, Aunt Jianqiu knocked her head against the coffin and died. The loyalty she held toward Princess Zhang led people to admire her with gratitude. The emperor had passed down an imperial decree, conferring her a posthumous title, Princess Ren-yi. She was buried along with Princess Zhang into the imperial tomb. The only person at the scene was Aunt Jian-chu, but now even she isn't alive anymore. Then who else can prove that it was concubine Xue that poisoned Princess Zhang? Would they have to open the tomb and check out the corpse? No, absolutely not. If she had startled Princess Zhang's departed spirit, then her conscience won't be at peace forever. Dongling, you need to pay attention to concubine Xue's actions recently. We will slowly start to gather the pieces of evidence. Yes. Dongling nodded her head, hard. Gathering the evidence to revenge for Princess Hang. This event is her responsibility. Tomorrow, there are still other things going on. You can go to rest soon. Huang Beiyu exclaimed, tired. Young miss, you should go rest early too. Dongling saw that she didn't have the intentions of sleeping yet and couldn't help but to be worried. I still have some other things going on. You go sleep first. Of the two of us, one of us needs some rest. Dongling heard and knew that young miss cared about her a lot. She handed all the important things to do to her, so Dongling nodded her head and didn't say anything else anymore. She opened the lights, then went to sleep. Huang Beiyu took out the 100 Ways of Refinement scroll and spent the whole night with the lights on, carefully looking through the chapters on antidotes on the scroll numerous times. Of course, even though it was the Medicine Saint's 100 Ways of Refinement scroll, it had nothing related to the antidotes for sky-swallowing red snake's poison. However, in between the scroll, there was a type of refined pill called the 100 Poisons pill, which can suppress the toxicity. It's just that the grade of the 100 Poisons pill is too high, and based on her ability right now, it will be quite difficult if she wanted to refine this. Plus, the 100 poisonous items needed in order to refine 100 Poisons pill isn't easy to obtain either. However, in order to help Zhangyi, no matter how hard it is, she will still try. She recorded all the materials needed for the 100 Poisons pill onto a paper. Tomorrow, she will go let Dongling go to Buji Air Market to buy them. The rest of the poisonous items that aren't easy to acquire would be up for her to personally go find them. Royal Court Beiyu. When the day was almost lit, Huang Beiyu just started to close her eyes to rest for a while. By the time she went to Lingyang College in the morning for class, there were black bags surrounding her eyes. Her eyes were bloodshot. Dongling felt distressed badly early in the morning when she saw her in this state. Young miss originally had a weak body already. How come you don't know to love your body? This is no big deal. When she thought back to the 21st century, sometimes in order to complete the task given by her master, she had to conceal herself into the tropical rainforest. She wouldn't be able to sleep for 3 days and nights. Not only that, she would be attacked by all sorts of wild beasts and poisonous insects. Now, that is called torture. Now, it's just that Huang Beiyu's body wasn't good from the start. After eating Xiao Yaowang's jade pill that he had given, her body should be much better. After she dressed up and combed her hair in a simple manner, she went to the front yard with Dongling. Everyone within family Xiao, including Xiao Yuancheng, was waiting for her. It was unbelievably funny. Now that they are without her, these worthless people all dared not to head out the door? She didn't look at anyone and walked straight towards the horse carriage. She closed her eyes, resting. Father, look at her arrogant expression. Xiao Yun furiously exclaimed. Shut up. Xiao Yuancheng lowly shouted. He waved his hand to let Xiao Yun and Xiao Rou onto the horse carriage. Then he headed out the door. Because they needed to guard against prefecture of Anguagong's people, whenever a member of family Xiao needed to go OU, there will always be a huge group of bodyguards, at least 10 or so, following majestically behind them. Xiao Yun got on Huang Beiyu's horse carriage. After concubine Xue's advice and talk yesterday, Xiao Yun's superior feeling of self-ego came back again. She assumed the position of the future Wang Fei and sat across from Huang Beiyu. The difference between cloud and mud. 15. Dongling's eyes widened, and she exclaimed in a clear voice, Second young miss, your reputation right now is not suitable with the princess on a single horse carriage. Later on, when we arrive at the college and people have seen this, it will damage my family's princess's reputation. Then that means it will be damaging the royal family's reputation. This kind of huge crime, you probably aren't able to take upon it yourself. You are only a small maid. What nonsense are you speaking of? Xiao Yun heard this and was so angry that she couldn't even form words. It was her maid, Xia He, who was unwilling to take in the insults and sharply responded. Slap yourself. Huang Beiyu, who was resting, suddenly opened her eyes. Her cold eyes swept in front of Xia He. That severe, imposing manner immediately scared Xia He to the point where she moved her body closer to herself. This princess is here resting. Who gave you the permission to start shouting? Huang Beiyu lazily exclaimed as though a cat. Xia He's face gradually turned red. In the past, this Huang Beiyu was a useless person whom they had bullied however they liked. Now, she had suddenly become the prefecture of Princess Zhang's savior. Everyone depended on her breath to live. For a while, Xia He wasn't able to accept this, still thinking of herself as the maid who depended on the genius Xiao Yun and was able to oppress others. She turned her face over, not putting Huang Beiyu's words into her eyes. This girl had some moral integrity. Huang Beiyu laughed coldly. The people that second sister had trained had such a huge attitude. Xiao Yun's face contained faint content that Xia He wasn't frightened by Huang Beiyu's imposing manner, which had won some faces back for her. The third sister is over-complimenting me. How can Xia He compare to Dong Ling's cleverness? The second young miss is complimenting Dong Ling to the point where she felt embarrassed. Dong Ling naturally doesn't dare to compare herself to Sister Xia He. When Sister Xia He walks out of the prefecture of Princess Zhang, she is representing the second young Miss Yu. Just that, many people needed to give Sister Xia He some faces. Dong Ling's face was piled with a smile. Once Xia He heard this, she was proud too. That is because my family's young miss is Nanny Country's genius female summoner. Other people needed to give her some faces is all. This flattery by Xia He had momentarily made Xiao Yun feel better. She smiled and casted a side glance towards Huang Beiyu, the tone including mockery. On Ka Ta mainland, martial arts is respected. When comparing summoners to normal people, that is the difference between cloud and mud. Dong Ling really wanted to laugh out loud. 16 years old, 3-star summoner. Wanted to show off in front of young Miss. Young Miss was only 12 years old this year, and already is a 9-star summoner. She held possession of the Ice Spirit Lawn Bird Plus. She is a refining pharmacist. Just who is cloud and who is mud. However, these, if said out loud, wouldn't be fun anymore if it had scared Xiao Yun to death. Dong Ling had just let out a humph out of her nose. The smile on her face slowly faded away. The voice was also cold. What this maid is saying isn't complimenting the second young Miss Yu. The second young miss is usually smart, so how come you don't understand it now? Xiao Yun's face became red and really hadn't understood what Dong Ling's words meant. Xia He stated, "What are you trying to say? You dare to insult the second young miss?" "I am insulting you. This wicked servant," Dong Ling coldly shouted. "You are depending on the second young miss who is easy on you and going out to show off because of that. By doing that, you are ruining your family's young miss's reputation. Those who don't know will be thinking that the second young miss is also like you. This wicked servant, a person who likes to oppress others and not educated." Dong Ling had a smart mouth. While speaking, on one hand, her eyes swept over to Xiao Yun's stunned face. This fire wasn't burning enough, so she will continue to add the woods. In the usual days, this is no big deal. However, now people are talking behind the second young Mrs. back. They are saying that she doesn't understand etiquette. By having you, this wicked servant going out to stir troubles, isn't that claiming the truth that the second lady is the type of person who doesn't know her manners? The difference between cloud and mud. 16. Xia He was stunned by what she heard, and before she had gotten out of her trance, a slap made its way onto her face, hard. "Stupid maid." Xiao Yun yelled out loud. What she hated most right now was how her reputation was ruined. Now that she found out her personal maid had gone to give her a stab on the back and made her sit true of the rumors, how could she not hate her? Xiao Yun continuously gave Xia He a dozen or more slaps, to the point where Xia He's face had turned swollen. With her mouth still bleeding, "Young miss, please show mercy to this maid. This maid won't ever dare to do so again." "Show mercy to you? I'm going to kill you today." Xiao Yun was infuriated and pulled out a sword from her space ring, pointing it towards her. Xiaohe had seen this and was terror-stricken. She immediately escaped off the horse carriage, not knowing what to do. Blinded by her raging temper, how could she have let her go? She immediately chased after her with the sword. That Xiaohe had run only a couple steps and before everyone was able to react. Xiao Yun, who was a 3-star summoner, had pierced Xiaohe's throat with her sword. It appeared as though her hatred towards her wasn't enough, so Xiao Yun pulled out the sword, just to pierce a couple more transparent holes towards Xiaohe's heart. Xiaohe had fallen to the ground, and when she was dead to the point where she couldn't be any more dead, Xiao Yuancheng had finally reacted. He shouted out loud, "Yunair, what are you doing?" Xiao Zhonglei hurriedly jumped off the horse's back and pulled her to the side, exclaiming in a low voice, "Second sister, are you crazy? There are so many people on the streets right now. How can you kill her so cruelly in front of the public?" Xiao Yun's reputation from before was bad enough already. She was regarded as someone with a careless manner and not knowing her etiquettes. To a woman in her lady's chamber, this was by far the greatest shock. Now that the crime of having a savage temperament and killing the weak was added upon her, Xiao Yun's reputation was ruined completely forever. In the past, she was the female genius summoner that everyone was jealous of, and now she had depended on the summoner's strength, harshly killing a maid who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. In the future of the world of martial arts and summoners, she could be said to be completely looked down upon. No matter how strong her strength is in the future, she wouldn't obtain the approval of the summoner and martial arts unions. None of the countries of departments would be willing to use her. On the Ka-Er Ta mainland, the powerful people were respected. Martial arts had prospered, and people respected the strong. However, towards the strong who bullied the weak, they looked down upon them in disdain. It was just like Xueming and Xueche, the two siblings. Despite how strong they are, no one would think highly of them anymore. Xiao Yun was stunned, but she wasn't stupid. Her mind had turned, and she understood everything at the moment. Immediately, the color of her face had turned to that of dirt. While throwing the sword away from her hand, she waved her hand, saying, It's this maid who had ruined my reputation, so I had decided to punish her. I didn't think. Right now, it was the morning. Families would be out of bed, and the streets were busy. It just happened to be the time of the morning market, so people were everywhere. Family Zhao's vast and mighty troops were already attracting attention, and now that Xiao Yun had put up the show of killing someone on the streets, the common people on the streets had all surrounded them. They had seen Xiao Yun's aggressive actions, and they all looked at her in disdain. That is Xiao Yun, the daughter of a concubine in the prefecture of Princess Zhang's. Nonsense, she has nothing to do with Princess Zhang. Her surname is Xiao, and she is part of family Xiao. She has no relation to Princess Zhang. Of course. Xiao Yun had really ruined her family's principles. I heard that in order for her to seduce Xiao Yaowang yesterday, she had come on Xiao Yaowang's boat wearing little to no clothes. There were numerous people on the boat, so they had all seen her. TSK, she really knows no shame. To think that she was at least a 3-star summoner and born into a family of status. How could she have done something like that? She is just losing faces. The difference between cloud and mud. 17. She had really disgraced Princess Zhang's reputation. She listened to the gossips that didn't have a single trace of the intention to keep it quiet, and Xiao Yun's whole body trembled. She had no idea that the gossips outside had thought of her as someone like this. She had clearly fallen into the water yesterday and was saved by Xiao Yaowang's people. Plus, during that time, she had worn clothes. How was it like how the rumors had spread? You guys, shut your mouths. You don't understand the truth. How can you guys say this? Xiao Yun angrily shouted, wanting to rush over to shut everyone's mouth up. Second sister, stay calm. Xiao Zhonglei pulled her back, and Xiao Yuancheng was also yelling from where he was on the horse. Yunair, quickly come back. The Xiao Yuancheng right now was so angry that he was about to faint. His most pampered daughter and son right now had led him to have a headache. First, it was Xiao Zhongqi who had randomly become the thief who had stolen the treasures of the prefecture of Anguagong, which had caused the entire family to be threatened. Now it was Xiao Yun. She originally was the 3rd-star summoner who had the most bright future. The accomplishments in the future probably would have surpassed the old grandpa of family Xiao Qiyuan. She might even be able to marry into the royal family. However, yesterday, because she was careless and her actions were slightly improper, it had been the talk of the town. There was no big deal though, since groundless accusations will slowly disappear. But now, Xiao Yun had murdered someone publicly on the streets. Her methods were fierce and savage. All the common people had witnessed this. He was infuriated. Just how come it had turned to something like this? Xiao Zhongqi and Xiao Yun were what he depended on in his future. Now, each one of them appeared to be worse than the other. His half-a-life's heart's blood had all suffered from this loss. Xiao Yuancheng almost fell down from the horse due to his anger. He hurriedly called for Xiao Yun back, but Xiao Yun still wasn't reconciled to this. She still wanted to explain to this ignorant common people. While in the horse carriage, Huang Beiyu, who had slightly moved the curtains over, tilted the corners of her mouth up. Her smile contained some evil. Offending her doesn't include an easy consequence such as death. Her heart won't feel content if she hadn't slowly tortured them, letting them struggle in pain. Especially towards people like Xiao Yun. The evil consequences that she and concubine Shui had planted. Now it was time for them to slowly repay her back. Young Mrs. psychological method of getting SB to do as one wishes is used cleverly. Dong Ling whispered. She saw that Xiaohe was dead, but she didn't feel remorse or sympathy. That Xiaohe, in the past, had depended on concubine Shui and Xiao Yun so much that she was too arrogant. On one winter, she had pushed young Miss into the frozen lotus pond, which had led young Miss to be coughing and having a fever throughout the whole winter. All these years, her body wasn't any better. Xiaohe's death was her own fault. It was karma. These servants, when relying upon force to bully others, were even scarier than their masters. How is it my method? It was clearly yours. Huang Beiyu smiled towards Dongling. Dongling's wisdom cannot even be compared towards Xiaohe and Xiao Yun combined. Dongling shyly grinned. If it weren't that young Miss had hinted me, how would Dongling be able to think of these? Borrowing one's knife to kill someone, one rock to kill two birds. These methods were all in young Miss's heart. Dongling was just saying it out loud. This mouth. Sometimes it was wiped with poison, and sometimes it was wiped with honey. I need to be careful of you in the future. Young Miss, Dongling pouted. It was clear that it was you who was up to mischief, yet you had blamed it on Dongling's head. You are also someone who bullied the weak. Huang Beiyu Piutong laughed out loud. The exquisite face appeared to be much more touching and beautiful. The difference between cloud and mud. 18. Relying on the strong to bully the weak doesn't just depend on the person's strength, but also on the brain. Our Dongling's brain is definitely stronger than theirs by many times. Young Miss enjoys teasing people. Next time Dongling will shut her mouth up and not speak. Huang Beiyu shook her head, slightly smiling. Her mood was unbelievably nice and looked outside at Xiao Yun, who acted recklessly, trying to argue against the common people. She thought in her heart that after all, Xiao Yun was still a 16-year-old girl who was arrogant and not knowing when to advance or retreat. Compared to concubine Shui's endurance, Xiao Yun was obviously lacking in that. Dongling, let's go out. Huang Beiyu sat up and placed her hand over to Dongling's for her to hold on to her. She opened the curtains, walking out. Second sister, now that things have been approached to this, just calm down for a bit. Xiao Yun was unsatisfied that she was misunderstood by people and was angrily trying to explain to them. Suddenly, a clear and graceful voice sounded from the back. The noisy common people immediately quieted down. They had only seen a young girl who was wearing a light blue dress with white rabbit fur draped over her shoulders and a lavender flower cloak come out from the prefecture of Princess Zhang's horse carriage, helped down by a maid. She had a graceful figure and seemed as though she moved along the wind. The black hairs as though the first-rate brocade, combing the hairs into a simple cross-shaped bun that was rolled up, only separating it with a light bead flower. She was small in age, only about 11 or 12. The young and tender face, however, had begun to reveal an extraordinary and magnificent beautiful face without the use of makeup. The eyes as though the stars, the lips as though the peach blossom. The elegant face had led people to gasp in admiration. Although she was young, her body contained a royal and elegant scent. With every gesture and look, those who had looked at her unconsciously had fallen under her feet. The quiet common people who had seen her instantly became rowdy once more. This time, they were even more excited and crazier than they were towards Xiao Yun. This is Princess Beiyu. This is Princess Beiyu, who is Princess Zhang's descendant. Ah, really? This is the first time I've seen Princess Beiyu up close. She really does have the demeanor of Princess Zhang from the past. Ah, Princess Beiyu. Princess Beiyu, who had defeated the evil girl, Shuiming. Ah, the excited and crazy people all rushed over, completely forgetting about Xiao Yun on the back of their mind. Xiao Yun stared with her wide eyes and open mouth at the people who had looked at her in disdain just before, and now they had completely ignored her. They all piled over to the horse carriage, all saluting and paying their respects to Huang Beiyu. Princess Ah, please take the fruits. Princess Zhang had done my whole family a favor, and this is just my meager regards. Princess, please don't dislike this. And mine, Princess, and mine. Me too. Princess, you had defeated Shuiming and done a favor for my daughter. We are thankful to you. Please accept these cloth materials. Huang Beiyu and Dong Ling had never thought that the common people would be that out of control. Dong Ling was not exposed to this before and moved back, out of fright. It was Huang Beiyu who still remained calm. She hadn't rejected the gifts from people who had done so out of kindness. Each one, she personally took it over from them. She thanked them. She held a royal scent, and her gestures were graceful yet so easily approachable to the common people. She was just like Princess Zhang from the past. The common people, one after the other, saluted and greeted her. The common people who were far in the distance, having heard of the news, all hurried over. Huang Beiyu was beginning to get worried as the number of people increased. More people had come over. If it was like this, then they probably can't even leave even after dark. She didn't feel apathetic towards the common people. After all, they were just normal people. Towards Princess Zhang, everyone harbored a feeling of gratitude. To her, they probably had shifted over their grateful passion from Princess Zhang over. No matter how cold her heart was, towards the people who were genuinely thankful towards her and Princess Zhang, she didn't have it in her heart to drive them away. The difference between Cloud and Mud 19. As they watched this scene, the people of family Xiao had green faces on. Xiao Yuancheng widened his eyes, saying to Xiao Zhongqi and Xiao Zhonglei, "How come you guys haven't quickly driven people away? At this rate, how are we able to walk through them?" These 2 days, Xiao Zhongqi was extremely annoyed. The feeling of being framed didn't feel nice. Originally, he was also an impressive and admired person, but now his image was reversed, as though the target of scorn. He watched as Huang Beiyu, the person he looked down upon the most, was now loved by everyone and felt a pool of anger rise from within his heart. He galloped his horse over, and the long pike was pulled out, harshly poking at the ground. Dong, it made a dull and loud sound against the floor. A couple of people had turned their heads over, all frowning and glaring at Xiao Zhongqi. "What trouble are you trying to stir at over here?" Xiao Zhongqi just wanted to say that they were blocking this young master's path, but as he looked up, more people glared at him. He didn't place the common people in his eyes had it been one or two, but this was a group. Then that led his hairs to stand up. Xiao Zhongqi knew nothing good was coming out of this, so he rode his horse back, dejected. He was glared by Xiao Yuancheng. What a useless person! Xiao Zhongqi was infuriated in his heart. Ah, and he glared at Huang Beiyu, the eyes smoking with anger. Humph! Stupid young girl. One day, I will definitely teach you a lesson. Xiao Yun ran over from a distance. "Father, in what way can this be better?" "Humph! If it wasn't you who had stirred up the troubles." Now looking at Xiao Yun, Xiao Yuancheng didn't have any nice face towards her as well. Today, family Zhao's faces were all lost because of Xiao Yun. If this event had gone to Imperial Censor's ears, then he will present to the Emperor the clause in which he had committed an offense. Originally, the Emperor had already not been happy with family Xiao, and if this were to occur, then he probably will be dismissed from office. Thinking to hear, Xiao Yuanqin had another pile of anger in his stomach. He watched as the time wasn't early anymore, and he still needed to go to the imperial palace. If he were to waste his time, then this will lead the emperor to be even more infuriated with him. He thought back and forth and decided to personally gallop the horse over. He spoke in a gentle tone towards Huang Beiyu. "You heir, the day is getting dark, and you guys are almost going to be late in going to school." Huang Beiyu raised her head, and the lucid face contained a touching smile. When she looked towards Xiao Yuancheng, it was a look of an obedient daughter. Father is saying the correct thing. Once she finished speaking, she turned her head to look at the common people. She slightly grinned. "Everyone, please make it convenient for us, okay?" "Of course. Who dared not to make it convenient for Princess Beiyu? Move out, move out. Everyone move out. Don't block the princess path." A man with a rough appearance laughed while saying so. The voice was loud, and the surrounding common people who had heard all smiled while letting out a path. Huang Beiyu grinned, thanking them. Before heading into the horse carriage, she turned her head back to look at Xiao Yun, who was bursting with hatred. She revealed what was considered a perfect and elegant smile towards her. "Do you see this?" Reincarnation was a type of technique. If they didn't re-enter the wombs of someone good, then they were bound to be lower than everyone else. If they continued to not work hard and be tactful, then their whole life will be ruined. This world's rules were like this. No one can blame anyone else. Those who were weak were bullied, and the strong prevailed. This was the rule forever. The Huang Beiyu in the past, when she was weak, had she not been bullied and tortured? Didn't that Xiao Yun believe they were the difference between the cloud and mud? Right, they were the difference between cloud and mud. However, she, Huang Beiyu, will never be stepped down under someone's feet. Xiao Yun had also seen her gaze. In her heart, she felt depressed. She bit on her bottom lips hard, drawing blood. She got on Xiao Rou's horse carriage, and that Xiao Rou was inside, taking pleasure on her misfortune. "Second sister, what are you doing? Before, when you were killing someone, you were very impressive. How come right now you actually have to mistreat yourself?" The difference between cloud and mud. 20. "You dare to say another word. Do you believe that I will kill you?" Xiao Yun angrily stated. Xiao Rou was secure in the knowledge that she had support. It was on the streets right now, so she didn't believe that Xiao Yun dared to do anything to her. "Second sister, you are not as well compared to the past. It's better to be careful of what you're trying to say, otherwise you will be suffering in the future. Stop trying to taunt me here. You really think you're any better off than me?" Xiao Yun exclaimed, infuriated. Xiao Rou, likewise, didn't give her a good look either. "I at least keep my hands clean and didn't take my clothes off to seduce someone or murder someone on the streets. Stop comparing me to you." Xiao Yun's face turned red, shouting, "What nonsense are you talking at? I have never tried to seduce anyone. This type of thing, only your mother who knew no shame would be able to do so. What my mother did is what my mother did. I have not done it." Xiao Rou retorted back, not afraid. The two young women fought within the horse carriage, and the voice had spread outside. Numerous people were out on the streets, and they glanced at each other. Xiao Yuancheng had only thought that he had lost all his faces. The horse whip went down against their horse carriage, and he yelled out loud, "Shut your mouths up!" Xiao Yun and Xiao Rou dared not to go against their father, so they both glared at each other before closing their mouths. Xiao Yuancheng had already brought his own people into the imperial palace halfway on the road. Huang Beiyu and the others got off from their respective horse carriages. Xiao Yun got off the horse carriage, and the gazes from the surroundings all looked towards her. The motive wasn't clear, but it was held with different types of mockery and disdain. Xiao Yun's face turned red and pulled at Xiao Zhonglei, hurriedly walking in. Huang Beiyu looked at her embarrassed face, coldly laughing. She ordered towards Dong Ling, and she nodded her head. She carried a bag, then left. "Third sister, where is Dong Ling going?" Xiao Rou's attitude towards Huang Beiyu had changed drastically. She already knew now within the prefecture of Princess Zhang, her mother had no support from the prefecture of the prime minister, so they had nothing. Don't even mention about her father. In the royal court, he isn't an important minister, so grandfather doesn't like him as well. On the other hand, Huang Beiyu, who had been bullied numerous times by them in the past, had a powerful background and even made friends with the family Bu Jie's young master, Luo Luo, whose power is bigger and whose power is weaker can be told from one look. Plus, on the streets before, all the common people respected and loved her. It can be seen that Princess Zhang had gained the hearts of many. Therefore, she thought that she should become closer with Huang Beiyu, and maybe she could also receive some benefits so that people will forget about her mother who had lost her faces. Towards the heart of humans, Huang Beiyu was able to see through them completely. She had learned thoroughly about psychology, and the thoughts of the young Xiaorou was already seen through by her. There are some things in my home, so I told Dong Ling to grab it for me. Huang Beiyu slowly walked up the stairs of the Lingyang College. There were numerous gazes around them, glancing at her. She didn't care and acted calmly. Fourth sister, you had also seen the second sister's consequences today. She probably won't have any prospects in the future, and the first sister is one who isn't good at anything. There is only you left of the young misses of the family Xiao who has some hope. You need to work hard. Huang Beiyu's words had pulled Xiaorou out of her trance. She thought secretly in her heart, right? Of the girls in the family Xiao, there's only her who has some hope left. Thank you, third sister, for reminding me. Roer will definitely work hard. Xiaorou determinedly stated. Huang Beiyu faintly smiled. Two people passed through the black memorial arch and heard many people discussing something. They seemed to be excited. Even, it's Jing Wang and his Wang Fei who are coming. Haven't seen them in such a long time. Startled at the racetracks, 1. So Jing Wang and Jin Wang Fei actually will come to Lingyang College, Of course, Jing Wang and Jin Wang Fei are also our college's people, Jing Wang. Once she heard this address, Huang Beiyu couldn't help but stop her footsteps. Jing Wang, who was part of Onguagong's side, also comes to school at Lingyang College. She never knew this. Xiaorou watched as Huang Beiyu's face revealed a glimpse of confusion and immediately said, Third sister doesn't know? Jing Wang will be graduating from Lingyang College this year. He's a really powerful 7-star summoner, and Jing Wang Fei is also an outstanding person within the martial arts academy. Jing Wang and the first young miss of the prefecture of the Prime Minister had already agreed on the marriage years ago. The wedding will be held at the end of this year. Although they hadn't completed the ceremony, this marriage can be said to be completely settled down. Therefore, all the people had naturally addressed young Miss Lin, Jing Wang Fei, out of habit. Huang Beiyu was interested in Jing Wang only because she had secretly heard the conversation that had taken place behind the backyard of the prefecture of the Prime Minister between Prime Minister Qi and a couple other close members. She knew this Jing Wnag and Onguagong had ganged up with each other. Also someone who wanted to harm the Crown Prince, Zhan Yi. Jing Wang was 22 years old this year and was a 7-star summoner. She heard that within the road of ruling a country, the emperor regarded him as rather important. It's just that under the Crown Prince, Zhan Ye's limelight for many years, no matter how Jing Wang was remarkable, he was as though a pearl blinded by dust and buried, forgotten. You and Jing Wang Fei are very close, Jing Wang Fei was the first young miss of the prefecture of the Prime Minister. A couple of days ago by the side of the Jade Lake, she had seen the third young miss of the prefecture of the Prime Minister, Lin Wanjun, who was the daughter of a concubine in relation to Jing Wang Fei. Xiaorou's face contained a glimpse of arrogance. I don't dare to say close, but I have played with Jing Wang Fei before. Huang Beiyu smiled and didn't say anything. After all, Imperial College and the East Courtyard were not next to each other. She believed that she wouldn't be meeting either Jing Wang or Jing Wang Fei, so there wasn't any point in asking for more information. After she had separated from Xiaorou, she carried her book bag towards the Imperial College. What she was learning today was medical science. It was what she was interested in. She heard that the Imperial College's medical science professor was a refining pharmacist. The grade wasn't high, but towards the basic knowledge of refining pills, she believed that he will be able to explain it clearly. She walked into the medical school, and within the school, everyone was nosily discussing something. This group of students was all of the royal statuses, so normally their etiquettes were the most presentable. Who knew why they were all out of order for? Princess Beiyu. Luo Luo stood up from his seat, waving his hands towards her. Huang Beiyu carried her book bag over, asking, "What happened?" Luo Luo blinked his huge eyes, responding, "Lingyang College will be holding a skills competition, and this year, the principal had specially approved of the Imperial College to also join." Oh, Huang Beiyu was not interested in this. The Imperial College's specialty was with words and such, and compared to the East Courtyard's masters, wasn't it a joke? Everyone is ecstatic. How come you aren't happy? Luo Luo looked at her in confusion. "I want to learn medical science. Plus, I have nothing to do with the skills competition." "Who said this has nothing to do with you?" Luo Luo's eyes were sparkling and huge, as though two black gems flashing and sparkling in front of her. "That time you had defeated Xueming on the arena and Professor Gua had admired you a lot. This time our Imperial College will be picking a student who is pretty good with archery to join the competition, and Professor Gua had picked you." Huang Beiyu suddenly raised her head. "What? You don't need to worry too much. Skills competition and fighting on the arena are different. It's no big deal if you lost. The main point is if our Imperial College doesn't send someone out, then we will be mocked by the East Courtyard students." You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.